Chapter 2175. The Emperor Road spread across the sky, exuding a murderous order that broke through the great Tao of heaven and earth, sweeping across the vast world. Everyone in the celestial world exclaimed. The Emperor Road was entrenched in the sky and manifested on its own. What happened? Why did the Emperor Road suddenly descend and attack the heavenly palace? Its appearance was too sudden. It arrived in the blink of an eye and charged toward the heavenly palace. The vast heavenly palace was formed by seizing the great fortune of the celestial world. The atmosphere was sacred and solemn, with millions of auspicious clouds and purple energy rippling inside. This was the most sacred Pure Land in the celestial world. It was forged by immortal Emperor Zong with his supreme divine power, nurturing endless celestial world origin laws. It was the strongest place to achieve Tao in the celestial world. In fact, even if a powerful enemy attacked, with the order and laws of the heavenly palace, a group of the strongest emperors would not be able to break through in a short time. The Emperor Road suddenly appeared and pressed toward the heavenly palace. This road was originally a place for the celestial world's experts to break through. It was also full of mysteries and unknowns. Now, the Emperor Road was steaming with a terrifying murderous aura, as if a supreme immortal demon that had been sleeping for millions of years had awakened. The fluctuations it exuded made the experts tremble, feeling as if their bodies were about to explode. "Oh no!" everyone shouted. The Emperor Road came too suddenly, and it was exuding an unparalleled murderous aura. Boom! The magnificent gate of the heavenly palace rumbled violently. Because of the impact, the huge gate quickly intertwined with the supreme order to resist the Emperor Road that was pressing down. Unfortunately, they could not stop the Emperor's Road in the end. Suddenly, countless laws and orders intertwined together to form a protective barrier. The Emperor's Road came crashing down with unstoppable momentum. In an instant, the gate was torn apart, and the protective divine lights in the sky were all destroyed. Roar! In an instant, the group of experts guarding the heavenly gate region roared madly. A world-ending calamity had arrived, and even the heavens exploded. A terrifying pressure that filled the sky swept over, and the bodies of the soldiers were torn apart into pieces. Even their primordial spirits had evaporated. Mu-Exen, run, run, run! The patrolling generals screamed one after another, and their eyes were bloodshot. The gate of the heavenly palace exploded, and suddenly, the power of the strongest emperors swept over in a short time, resisting the supreme Emperor Road. However, the battle prowess unleashed by the Emperor Road was too powerful. The stars in the sky were destroyed, and the gates of the heavenly palaces were shattered. Mu-Exen screamed. The little girl with silver hair that reached her waist quickly turned into an immortal phoenix, wanting to spread her wings and fly away. But there was no more chance. The heavenly palace came crashing down with terrifying power. Puff! Mu-Exen screamed miserably. She was in incomparable pain. The divine and resplendent immortal phoenix shattered into pieces and fell onto the ground. In fact, if it weren't for the monarch weapon revolving in Mu-Exen's body to protect her lifeline, Mu-Exen would have exploded along with the heavenly palace's army into ashes. Bastard, stop! The 6 elders of the celestial court were enraged. The dojos of the 6 strongest great emperors were extremely close to the gates of the celestial palace. One by one, the terrifying great emperors went berserk. In a short period of time, they unleashed their strongest combat power and joined forces to charge towards the Emperor's Road that was suppressing the celestial palace. Emperor Road. At the same time, Su Yan's black hair danced in the wind. He had reached a critical moment in refining his weapon, and his body was extremely weak. Su Yan's eyes widened. His blood was boiling with anger. He wanted to rush out to help, but the power from the Emperor's Road was terrifying. An invincible great emperor's mark walked out from the depths of the road. The entire road was surrounded by the strongest order of laws. The 6 strongest great emperors trembled. The vast pressure covered the great emperor's body. They screamed in horror. This was definitely the work of the master of the celestial court. The Emperor's Road was the path for the immortal world's experts to break through to the great Emperor realm. It contained the most profound mysteries. One could only imagine how powerful this road was. Puff, puff. The 6 strongest great emperors were sent flying. They couldn't withstand the impact of the Emperor's Road. The chi and blood in their bodies trembled, and blood flowed from their mouths and noses. All of you must die. Die. The remnant soul of the 3rd Patriarch laughed maliciously. He pushed the Emperor's Road up. It radiated a terrifying rain of light that fell in all directions around the heavenly palace. He wanted to annihilate all living beings in the heavenly palace. Roar! The Tai Baokai roared into the sky, and its body grew rapidly. A golden panda rose from the ground. Its body emitted boundless beast god waves. It wielded a beast god's heavenly furnace and unleashed its strongest power. Baokai, watch out! Su Yan screamed. He rushed out from the heavenly palace and charged toward the Emperor's Road. You beast! How dare you cause trouble here? Su Yan, kill him! The Tai Baokai roared furiously. Its ferocious aura surged. It didn't retreat even half a step. Its huge body blocked the entrance of a creation realm. Tens of thousands of young sky prides who had walked out of the qualifiers were cultivating inside. If these people died, it would be a heavy loss for the celestial court in the future. After all, the 3 realms were reorganized, and the 9 heavenly paths to heaven had opened. Batches of peerless sky prides who were comparable to the heavenly dragon ladies had emerged. They would become the pillars of the celestial court in the future. Boom! The Tai Baotsai's heavenly furnace exploded. Its huge body cracked, and it was bathed in blood. It roared into the sky and forcefully resisted the Emperor's Road's laws and order. It protected a group of important members of the celestial court. At the same time, the Long Daesong summoned his Fangtian halberd. It was in a slightly better state. It managed to block the attacks, but it couldn't spare any energy to attack the Emperor's Road. A bunch of beasts. All of you must die. The 3rd forefather shouted ferociously. He was going all out. The entire majestic and terrifying Emperor's Road burned, forming a fiery red ocean of laws and order. This was the highest order law, and it was extremely terrifying. It fell with a whoosh. It was as if a huge world of doom had formed. It revealed a peerless, ferocious aura that swept across the land. Within the celestial court, a large number of soldiers and horses who had charged out exploded. This was a bloody disaster. One. The Emperor's Road was burning fiercely. It steamed with the power of doomsday. It was about to turn into a forbidden zone for life and completely destroy the celestial court. Of course, more of the power swept toward Su Yan. The 3rd forefather roared. He hated Su Yan to the extreme. He had to kill him. In the bleeding celestial court, the laws and order were like a tsunami. Thick blood seeped out, forming a furnace that could burn the world. The celestial world was shaken. A terrifying event had happened. The celestial court was met with an unexpected disaster. The fiery red ocean was about to drown the entire celestial court. A great massacre was about to happen. Roar! In an instant, an earth-shattering roar exploded. The figure of immortal Emperor Zong appeared. He was no longer aging. In an instant, he became much more terrifying. His roar caused the fiery red ocean to tremble violently. The law tsunami that filled the sky exploded. At this moment, Su Yan was too terrifying. His killing intent surged, and his blood chi surged. His roar reverberated throughout the celestial world. The wrath of an emperor caused millions of corpses to fall. Su Yan's black hair danced wildly. He raised his fist and punched forward. He was extremely powerful in a short period of time. Heaven-opening fist. Su Yan's fist was unparalleled. It shook open the river of time and revealed the great profundity of the origin of all life. It emitted an unparalleled power that could split heaven and earth. It suddenly suppressed above the fiery red ocean. Open for me. Su Yan's eyes were bleeding. In an instant, he went berserk. His peak combat strength erupted. His fist could split heaven and earth. It blasted a huge crack in the fiery red ocean. What? The third forefather trembled. He felt suffocated and hopeless. How could this be? How many years had it been? How could Su Yan be so powerful? His fist was unparalleled. It could split heaven and earth. He blasted open a corner of the Emperor Road and killed his way into it. Immortal Emperor Zhang's hair flew wildly. His eyes were like lightning, emitting a heaven-devouring fury. At this moment, the power of Big Brother spread out and suppressed the corner of the celestial court. It blocked the madness of the Emperor Road. At the same time, Su Yan's clone carried the world-destroying battle-axe. It tore open a huge crack in the human realm and rushed toward the celestial court. The three realms were connected, and reinforcements could be sent out in a short period of time. Big Brother and Su Yan's clone rushed over and stabilized the celestial court. Third forefather. Su Yan was furious. He let out a loud roar. The remnant soul of the third forefather, who was hidden in the deepest part of the Emperor Road, screamed and was torn apart. Su Yan strode forward. The Emperor Road was 10,000 times more dangerous. All kinds of orders intertwined and bloomed. It vaguely revealed a supreme profundity. It could be said that the orthodoxy of a supreme being was entrenched in it. It was extremely dangerous. Dong dong dong. Su Yan walked with majestic step. His figure was dazzling. He had been silent for hundreds of years. This was the first time he unleashed his power. His body resounded with the chanting of the heaven-opening scripture. He released billions of laws and immortal marks. Su Yan's aura was terrifying and boundless. It filled the entire Emperor Road in an instant. Immortal marks of the great Tao covered his body. They contained the profundities of the heaven-opening scripture. They opened a path that led to the deepest part of the Emperor Road. The third forefather trembled. His remnant soul was about to explode. Su Yan. His eyes trembled. He screamed, "It's already at this moment. The Emperor Road is burning. No one can survive. Since you've entered the trap, you're destined to die in battle. Evil creature, accept your punishment." Su Yan roared angrily. The remnant soul of the third forefather was blown apart by his roar. The whole world trembled. Immortal Emperor Zhang, who had been silent for hundreds of years and whose name shook the celestial world, was suddenly trapped in a killing trap. He also revealed his peerless combat strength. What's that? A disaster is happening in the Emperor Road. Everyone in the world exclaimed. The deepest part of the Emperor Road was gradually changing. An incomparably tragic aura spread. The sky was about to be destroyed. The celestial world's great Tao was about to collapse. All living things were about to wither. Suppress. The Big Brother was shocked and furious. The Emperor Road was burning, radiating endless destructive matter. It was going to destroy the Heavenly Palace, destroy Immortal Elder Academy. He and Su Yan's clone joined hands, temporarily suppressing the source of destruction released by the Emperor Road. However, the situation inside was too terrible. Wave after wave of unmatched fluctuations spread. The barbaric charge from before had caused many soldiers to fall, suffering an unexpected disaster. No matter how powerful one's cultivation was, their souls were trembling. They couldn't help but bow down and pay their respects. The Emperor Road burned in the great world that shook the celestial world. The natural laws and order were like a tsunami of the 9 heavens that continuously released. At the same time, an incomparably terrifying figure walked out from the great world inside. It was as imposing as a celestial emperor. It was as if it crossed the long river of history to arrive. It was at the pinnacle. It walked towards revival from the engraving, tearing apart the great universe. A blood-colored storm swept about. The heavenly phenomena went berserk. The engraving shone, outlining an unmatched existence that slaughtered its way towards immortal Emperor Zong. A group of evil creatures, daring to stir up trouble in the celestial world. Suppress and kill, Su Yen shouted. He possessed world-shocking immortal might. His black hair that scattered over his shoulders danced about. He didn't want to borrow any help. He raised his large hand, summoning the immortal sword that was almost completely refined. Chapter 2176. Boom! The universal divine cauldron exploded, and a murderous aura filled the sky. In an instant, the entire celestial realm lit up. The moment a killing sword that had yet to be completed broke through the celestial realm lit up brightly. Streaks of killing sword aura tore through the universe. The sky was filled with sword aura, intertwining and forming a huge and terrifying sword embryo that intimidated all living beings in the universe. Sword, come! With a furious roar, the bright sword embryo shot out with a loud bang. The aura that permeated the air also became violent. It tore apart a corner of the Emperor Road and rushed towards Su Yen, emitting a sword cry that shook the heavens and earth. The killing sword fell into Su Yan's hands. Although it had yet to be completed, it was still bright and terrifying. In the state of one with the sword, the celestial sword's veins appeared as if it had turned into a killing sword of the celestial realm. It spat out thick sword aura, causing the deepest part of the Emperor Road to be filled with sword aura. Kill! Su Yen roared. His black hair stood on end, shaking the vast universe as he killed the terrifying Emperor's shadow formed by the killing sword imprint. This was definitely the founder of the three Emperor clans. He had forged the Emperor Road and laid the foundation for the celestial realm's experts to break through. It contained unparalleled mysteries, and could be said to be the manifestation of the Supreme Order, intimidating the celestial realm. This is the truth of the Emperor Road, the Spacetime Emperor shouted. The experts charged towards the Heavenly Palace, and the Celestial Court's experts rushed towards the battlefield. The situation in the Heavenly Palace was stabilized. The Heavenly Palace's kings were entrenched in the sky. They were like terrifying deities from the 9 heavens. Their divine eyes were like lightning as they glared at the Emperor Road. They saw a supreme figure. The truth of the Emperor Road was revealed. It had always been the 3 Emperor ancestors. The 6 elders of the Celestial Court were shocked. It turned out that they had always lived in the 3 Emperor clans' world. The 3 Emperor clans' world was firmly controlled by them. No wonder they were so strong. This was the true ruler of the heavens, controlling the rise and fall of billions of races. Although this imprint was not the real body, it carried the supreme Tao fruit. The aura it emitted was too shocking. The universe began to melt endlessly, forming a black hole of death in the land beyond the heavens. The celestial realm had been peaceful for hundreds of years. There had never been such a ridiculous war. Immortal Zong. The entire world trembled as everyone looked at the god of war who was charging into the depths of the Emperor Road. At this moment, the Lord of the immortal world was facing an unparalleled existence alone. Although it was just a mark, this battle would be extremely difficult for immortal Emperor Zong. The immortal sword moved through the air, so dazzling that it made one's eyes bleed. It still hadn't completely emerged from the furnace, but this sword core was already in its initial stages. With a light wave, sword radiance rushed into the heavens. Millions upon millions of great explosions erupted. The heaven and earth were hacked apart, the fiery red ocean of order was riddled with holes. The terrifying sword slashed forward, revealing a great storm that could destroy the heavens. Vile spawn, how dare you call yourself the master of the immortal realm? The first imprint, which had transformed into the supreme god Shadow, was faintly clearer. It was like the celestial emperor of the past, present, and future. The aura it exuded swept across the land. This type of aura was too powerful. The sun continued to fall, and the myriad Tao began to break apart. When it stepped forward, the the shadow's divine radiance flourished, illuminating the great world, becoming unmatched throughout the ages. Boom! The sword radiance that filled the sky whizzed over. The instant it slashed towards this terrifying shadow, it changed in an instant. It was as if it had transformed into the celestial emperor's bell that carried the myriad Tao. It was also as if it had transformed into a supreme war god that opened up a world of emperors. Slash! Su Yen roared loudly. The immortal sword he wielded blazed fiercely, and during the process, it became a lot more terrifying. The heavens wept blood, and the 33 heavens were about to be destroyed. A furnace of rare precious medicine was refined, and in addition to the remnants of 3 emperor weapons, the ominous weapon that had undergone over 100 years of refinement had an aura that was too savage. This ominous weapon is truly terrifying, the sword ancestor exclaimed. The depths of the emperor's path had been cut open, emitting a destructive killing intent. The resplendent sword radiance that filled the sky overflowed into the heavens. Su Yen roared loudly. The celestial emperor's bell. An intense collision instantly shook the heavens above and the earth below. The vast and mighty 4 great regions of the immortal realm were all horrified. The great battle was too terrifying. A rain of destructive light was released from the source region, and it was as if millions upon millions of suns had exploded. The two collided with each other, forming a land of death and destruction. Hong! Su Yen brandished his fist. Immortal Emperor Zhang's aura swallowed a great world, and he raised his fist to suppress forward. The immortal realm spiraled above his head, spewing out sword radiance, causing Su Yan's fighting strength to become extremely ferocious. It was as if he had transformed into an overlord that could split apart heaven and earth. A terrifying and boundless collision occurred. The indistinct celestial race's king also brandished his fist. The two fists collided, and both opened up great worlds. They then proceeded to explode, forming a heaven-defying fighting strength. Su Yan's body trembled slightly, encountering the boundless power that filled the sky. His body was about to collapse. Roar! Su Yen roared angrily, and he went crazy while bathed in blood. His primordial spirit burned fiercely, and the order of the heaven-opening scripture interweaved. It stimulated his body endlessly, and a huge heavenly embryo appeared behind him. It sat at the end of the long river of history, and terrifying great waves roared out. It could be said to be at the peak of the heavenly embryo realm. Su Yen displayed the heaven-opening fist, striking out expanse after expanse of great universes that slaughtered towards the celestial race's lord. In fact, Su Yen was not yet qualified to compete with such an existence. However, he was not afraid of a single imprint. His fighting strength was extremely ferocious and domineering. His body was covered in blood as he flooded the depths of the Emperor Road, fighting the celestial race's lord in blood. Kill! The majestic imprint roared. Every time it swung its fist, it would emit a power that could shake the universe. It covered the boundless great world and was filled with endless power. It was as if a great world was revolving around him. The degree of terror was self-evident. His Tao fruit was too astonishing, suppressing heaven and earth and space. Su Yen fought madly. The heaven-opening fist was unparalleled, shaking open the sealed great world and displaying the great world that opened the heavens. His brandishing fists spewed out divine overlords that filled the sky, and the floating immortal swords spewed out endless sword radiance. Boom! The two great experts fought a bloody battle. The sky trembled, the sun sank, and the moon fell. It was a world-destroying battle. In fact, if the celestial court's kings hadn't stood guard in all directions and suppressed the destructive battle storm, this battle would have turned into a land of death. It would have dealt a heavy blow to the core of the immortal realm, and perhaps this place would have really sunk. In the depths of the Emperor Road, the bloody battle continued. The beings of the immortal realm felt cold all over. The enemy that immortal Emperor Zhang encountered was too terrifying. In fact, the world was also amazed. Immortal Emperor Zhang didn't borrow the environment of the immortal realm, nor did he borrow any other help. He relied on his own strength to kill the Lord of the Celestial Race. Boom! The Lord of the Celestial Race, whose body was like the Celestial Emperor's bell and a supreme god, slapped his big hand and bloody Su Yan's body. Half of his body cracked open and was about to explode. The 6 elders of the Celestial Court watched in horror. This was simply a defeat. How terrifying was the Lord of the Celestial Race at his peak. Kill! Su Yan roared. He was not afraid of the wounds. His moves were grand, and in an instant, he attacked fiercely. His battle body burned, and his primordial spirit howled. The immortal sword seemed to have merged with Su Yan. In a short period of time, Su Yan's battle strength soared. His primordial spirit, body, and immortal sword all chanted the heaven-opening scriptures order at the same time. Boom! Su Yan exploded while bathed in blood. His fist blasted out the heaven-opening universe and blew up a corner of the Celestial Emperor's bell's world. Kill! Su Yan roared. His blood was awakened in anger. He wanted to kill his way up and tear apart the Celestial Race's Lord's brand. However, this person wasn't an ordinary person in the end. Suddenly, a corner of his body was broken, and he was infuriated. The order of the Supreme Taoism appeared, as if a vast universe had been opened up, reflecting the phenomenon of the emperors that filled the sky, killing Su Yan. Su Yan. Zhu Yu's heart was burning with anxiety. This attack was too dangerous. The depths of the Emperor's road were filled with the light of destruction. The universe's great cracks appeared one after another. Some people saw that Su Yan's body was full of cracks. It was as if he had been blasted to pieces, and blood flowed for 3,000 miles. What's that? Everyone cried out in alarm. Su Yan seemed to be about to be destroyed. However, he channeled his supreme art and his accumulated strength erupted. The heaven-opening scriptures order bloomed. His broken body was revived in a short period of time. The cracked battle body was completed. Kill! Su Yan's might flourished. He raised his fist and attacked. He was fighting the Celestial Race's Lord's brand. Su Yan had damaged a corner of this brand, and a flaw had appeared. He was absolutely confident that he could reduce it to ashes. The whole world was in disbelief. What kind of art was Su Yan channeling? The Zi Qilin and the others had all obtained the heaven-opening scripture. This was a supreme scripture that could reconstruct one's body in a short period of time. Su Yan's accumulation was also incredible. After all, he was the Lord of the Celestial Realm. In fact, Su Yan's future path had become much clearer as he fought with this kind of existence. His eyes were extremely deep. It was as if he had vaguely seen the ultimate path. This caused the heaven-opening scriptures order to bloom and sublimate once again. It vaguely filled the entire Emperor's road and changed the environment of this world. Evil creature, how dare you call yourself the ancestor of heaven and earth? Suddenly, a terrifying giant hand reached out. It was as if it had reached out from the end of the celestial realm. The world was dark and een. It was as if the great world of reincarnation had appeared. All living beings in the heavens felt their scalps go numb. It was as if they had fallen into a land of death. Their bodily functions seemed to be aging. This kind of influence was too great. Even though the kings of the celestial court were isolated, it still surged out mightily. It was so majestic that it could be said to be reconstructing the universe's environment. Su Yan coughed up blood. He had suffered a terrible blow. It was as if his life had been cut by a knife. His bodily functions had declined greatly. Another one has come. The kings were shocked. A majestic figure walked out from the depths of the Emperor's road. It was like the reincarnation emperor who had created the 6 paths of reincarnation. The brand of a celestial race lord was already powerful enough. If another immortal Zhang came, Would they be able to stop it? The world even discovered a more cruel problem. Because there was not only one, there was also the brand of a supreme god. It scattered the dust and instantly became vast to the extreme. It seemed to penetrate through the past, present, and future. It was a supreme god. The shadow formed by the three great brands looked down on the celestial realm. It was called the ancestor of the celestial realm. Little bug, I'll send you to reincarnation. Ancestor of reincarnation spoke like a living creature. His words were cold and shook people's souls. Ha ha ha! Su Yen looked up to the sky and laughed. The sword embryo in his hand was bleeding. He faced the three supreme godlike existences and laughed angrily. You want to bring chaos to the world with just 3 brands? What a shameless boast! Ant, the celestial realm does not belong to you. It belongs to us. Wait until our true bodies return. Everything will vanish like smoke. The ancestor of the Xian people said coldly. It revealed a supreme, immortal might. The mighty emperor's road exploded in the celestial realm. For a moment, the celestial realm rumbled and trembled. Suddenly, a terrifying change occurred. The entire celestial realm seemed to be returning to the era of bloody purgatory. The creatures in the world were uneasy and terrified. The might of the 3 emperors was unprecedented. It pressed down on their hearts, making them want to submit and worship them. I am the Lord of the Celestial Realm. Suddenly, Immortal Emperor Zhang's terrifying roar exploded. It dispersed the bloody light. His figure was filled with a domineering aura. He shouted angrily, "Those who bring chaos to the Celestial Realm, die. Those who mislead the people with lies, die. Kill, kill, kill." The Celestial Realm's earth shook violently. The sound of killing was like billions of troops galloping and trampling. The sound of iron spears rumbled. The sound of killing was about to break the river of time. Boom! Immortal Emperor Zhang called for the world. Billions of divine light soared into the sky. Buzz! A huge temple opened in the celestial realm. It was formed by the creation of heaven and earth. It pressed down on everyone's heart. From it, a huge figure walked out. It filled the universe. The sun, moon, and stars revolved around his hair. The figure between his palms was too majestic. It was the body of faith of immortal Emperor Zhang. It could be called his second clone. It was like the supreme god of the celestial realm that lived in legend. It crossed the sea of time and bathed in the sound of worship. It surrounded the endless energy of faith to protect all living beings and suppress all rebellions. Chapter 2177. Immortal Emperor Zhang, the Lord of the immortal world, revered by thousands of sects. He controlled great fortune and protected all living beings in the universe. His divine might was unparalleled. His true body was still in the depths of the Emperor Road, but the immortal world began to shake. The 3 emperors appeared in the depths of the Emperor Road. They were majestic to the extreme, as if they were the supreme gods of the immortal world. They looked down on the vast universe and spoke coldly. It was as if they had turned into the heavens of the immortal world, controlling the environment of the immortal world. Boom! The time and space of the celestial world had undergone a great change. Bloody light sprinkled down, drowning the 33 heavens. It was as if the supreme majesty that had crossed billions of light years had returned to the celestial world, wanting to rule the world once again. Even the figures of the 3 emperors suddenly appeared. One of them was as majestic as the celestial emperor of the immortal world, dominating the past, present, and future. The celestial emperor's Tao was powerful and domineering, intimidating all living beings. This was the race that created the celestial emperor. They were glorious and prosperous since the beginning of time. Although this race was destroyed, the founder was still alive. He was a giant that lived in legends. Only the most ancient existences of the immortal world knew about some legends. Another enormous figure appeared, towering above the great earth of the immortal world, affecting the great world with extreme een and darkness. This type of scene was extremely terrifying, as if a monarch sleeping in the sixth Tao of reincarnation had emerged, overturning the past and present, powerful to the extreme. The reincarnation emperor, who created the reincarnation lineage, was extremely glorious. It was as if he stood in the reincarnation underworld, dominating the life and death of all living beings. The third figure was so divine and holy that it seemed to have become the carrier of the immortal world's Tao, ruling the immortal world. The light scattered from the figure showed the voice of the emperors that filled the sky. It was as if a group of living beings that lived in the ocean of time was gradually awakening. A terrifying pattern was formed, suppressing everyone in the world. The figures of the three emperors reflected the past, present, and future, exuding a great divine might that surged in the four major regions of the immortal world, sweeping through billions of ancient worlds. Endless supreme auras were released, wanting to make all living beings submit. Those who spread lies die. Those who cause chaos in the immortal world die. In an instant 2 syllables resounded. The three emperors occupied the great pattern of the immortal world. A figure appeared, exuding a peerless domineering aura, roaring in the world. His figure stood towering within a grand and enormous temple. The flourishing age of the celestial world rumbled along with it. The myriad of great Daos resonated along with it, and the earth pulsed along with it. It even surged out a vast power of faith. In an instant, Su Yan's might was peerless, and he became the one and only ruler of the immortal dimension. It caused the influence of the three emperors to become blurry and dim, and they were about to return to nothingness. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. How bold! An old monster from the immortal world exclaimed in admiration. Inside the temple was another clone of Su Yan. It was forged from the faith of all living beings and the power of faith. It was overseeing the immortal world. He didn't use the power of faith to strengthen himself. He only tempered it into a clone, and as time passed, this clone would become more and more powerful. At this moment, he was commanding the celestial world and suppressing all rebellions. Kill, 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 immortal realms people roared, witnessing their ugly faces. At the crucial moment, they were all going to sacrifice immortal realm, burn away the lives of all living beings. Everyone's hopes and aspirations were aligned. The unification of the celestial world was unstoppable. Su Yan faced the imprints of the three emperors alone with the power of his main body. From this, one could see Su Yan's attitude. His spiritual will wanted to become a peerless expert who could take charge of everything. He wanted to face the apocalyptic calamity of the celestial world alone. The celestial world had really changed. The faith of billions of living beings penetrated Su Yan's temple, causing his Dharma body to surge with killing light. Suddenly, the Dharma bodies of the three emperors exploded under the pressure. Bastard, do you really think we'll let you become something? The three emperors were furious. The three imprints blazed with boundless brilliance and instantly erupted with a terrifying and boundless fluctuation. They wanted to evaporate the universe, destroy the celestial world, and rebuild it. This was their supreme spiritual will, and it couldn't be violated. Kill. The ancestor of the Xian people roared and waved a terrifying hand. It could easily pierce through the infinite realm and the river of time. It arrived in an instant, forming an unparalleled influence and pressure. Boom! The ancestor of reincarnation shouted angrily. A vertical eye opened between his eyebrows. When it spun, it could peer into the 6 paths of reincarnation. It shot out a rain of light like 2 reincarnation sword embryos, wanting to cut off Su Yan's head. The ancestor of the heaven ancestor declined and couldn't compare to his previous battle strength. Otherwise, this battle would have been extremely vicious for Su Yan. Su Yan roared and rushed forward, emitting a terrifying fighting spirit. In an instant, Su Yan erupted with his peak battle strength. His pores emitted a resplendent luster, and his immortal fetus, which had been nurtured for billions of years, erupted. It was as if he had the strongest emperor physique that could cross time and reincarnation. In particular, Su Yan's primordial spirit was extremely powerful. It whistled through the heaven-opening scripture's order and evolved an unimaginable scripture luster, tearing apart the environment. Su Yan rushed toward the ancestor of the Xian people. It was as if the two strongest gods of war in the immortal world were clashing. The scene was extremely shocking. Su Yan fought crazily. He unleashed the heaven-opening fist and the emperor's suppression art. The sword embryo slashed out with the supreme radiance and order of the epoch, opening up the river of epochs. He seemed to be standing at the other end of the river of epochs, wielding his most invincible battle strength. In an instant, he fought fiercely with the ancestor of the Xian people for hundreds of rounds. Qi. At this moment, the ancestor of reincarnation's power attacked fiercely. With a boom, the great Tao exploded. Time was shattered into fragments, and all Tao laws and order disappeared. It was as if an eternally still space-time had been opened to destroy Su Yan. "Kill!" Su Yan roared. He was majestic and imposing, and a huge hand rose from behind him. It was as if he had grasped the universe's sea of stars and grasped the Emperor Road. The moment it was activated, the entire world spun violently, forming a huge and majestic palm print. This attack was too shocking. The heaven-moving palm exploded, shattering the reincarnation's sword radiance. Now, the ancestor of reincarnation's imprint suppressed him. "Traitor, hand over your life!" Su Yan's eyes were like torches, and his killing intent was 10,000 times stronger. His battle blood was surging, and the most terrifying life source was burning. As he roared, waves like the sea turned into a sky full of reincarnation's sword radiance, slashing towards the ancestor of the celestial race. The three emperors were furious. He actually dared to fight the three of them alone. Did he really think he was on the path of invincibility? The world was shocked. Su Yan fought the three emperors. The intensity of the battle shocked the world. Immortal Emperor Zhang is too strong. The entire immortal world was shocked. Immortal Emperor Zhang was too crazy at this moment. He fought the imprints of the three emperors alone, wanting to complete the ultimate test. He wanted to use his strength to prove his strength and invincibility. Of course, this battle was 10,000 times more difficult for Su Yan. The intense battle's radiance shot into the sky. It was so bright that it was difficult to open one's eyes, and they couldn't see the entire battle. Only a few people noticed that immortal Emperor Zhang was burning his life force. His emperor's origin penetrated his entire body and attacked the three emperors at the same time. He fought until he was covered in wounds and his body was torn apart. The immortal and indestructible scripture became Su Yan's strongest trump card. His life force was too strong, and he was like a burning furnace in the depths of the Emperor Road. He climbed up from the brink of death again and again, emitting a ferocious aura. This battle continued for day after day. The immortal world was in turmoil. How long would it last? 3 days and 3 nights had passed. The depths of the Emperor Road had been torn apart, and there were huge remnants rolling down. The Emperor Road was the path to heaven in the immortal world. Now, it had turned into a world of doom, and it wanted to kill Su Yan. The majestic Emperor Road continued to collapse. Bloody light surged within, and the blood of war burned, destroying many star regions. The sword ancestor was worried. Su Yan's body was destroyed once. After all, the three emperors had walked on the transcendence path. He wasn't sure if it was a supreme treasure, but the Tao laws of the three emperors were unfathomable. If he had to face his main body, it would be enough to make him despair. Su Yan had rebuilt his body with the immortal and indestructible scripture several times. His combat strength had become even more domineering. Every time he attacked, the order of the world would tremble, and the world would be split apart. It was so grand that it could tear apart the past, present, and future. Su Yen had cultivated a boundless might that could easily suppress the souls of the emperors. On the 6th day, no matter how terrifying Su Yen was, he was old and frail. Some of his thick black hair had turned white, as if he had fought a bloody battle for thousands of years. His face was old and frail. Every day was difficult and dangerous, and he had to endure endless injuries. The battle was still going on. Huge waves rose in the depths of the Emperor Road. The battle was still fierce and cruel. However, on this day, Su Yen had destroyed the imprint of the Celestial Tribe's master. Is he going to win? The Baokai growled. Its injuries were so severe that it almost died. It couldn't see the battle in the depth. It was too terrifying. The sea of blood roiled as the giants fought. However, at this moment, the Baokai sensed that one of the auras was missing. Su Yan's predicament was greatly reduced. Soon, the sword ancestor was silent. It was as if he saw the young Su Yan, who worked hard and pursued the path of the strong. Now, he was pursuing the path of greater power. He fought until he was defeated and covered in wounds. The turbulent storm in the depths of the Emperor Road was even more violent. The world could catch the aura of the immortal Zong Emperor. They could vaguely see a blood-soaked figure. A huge explosion caused the heavens to collapse and the earth to crack. Gods cried and ghosts wept. The world was on the verge of destruction. The great explosion was about to kill a peerless enemy in an instant. On the 7th day, the aura of one of the giants was gone. However, the Emperor Road was already incomplete. Cracks appeared everywhere, and huge fissures appeared one after another. This road was truly destroyed. Everywhere was broken, and the scene in the depths was difficult to see clearly. On the 9th day, the Emperor Road was peaceful again. This road was full of devastation. Su Yen had destroyed this road. He was the sole Emperor Road. He's back! The world roared. A shadow was seen returning from the depths of the Emperor Road. The sky was filled with blood-red mist. It was bleak and tragic, and it pierced people's hearts. Footsteps were heard. Everyone saw a skinny figure. He looked like the Lord of the immortal world who had returned from an expedition of 100,000 years. Half of his foot stepped out of the bloody Emperor Road. Su Yen! The experts roared, their emotions sorrowful. Some people were crying. Their eyes were red. At this moment, Su Yan's hair was white. His body was skinny and a little stooped. He looked like he had entered the twilight years. He was old and weak, and he walked out shakily. He carried a sword on his back. He was bleeding, showing great fear. It was a sign of how difficult the battle was. The atmosphere was a little depressing. Many people could not bear to watch. This battle was not that simple. The kings of the Celestial Court participated in the battle. They could have destroyed the Emperor Road. However, they knew that the immortal Zong Emperor did this because this was the only chance to get close to a supreme being who surpassed the strongest emperor. Bloody battle of 3 emperors. Su Yen fought until his later years. He was old and weak. His whole body was wet. That was blood. Drop by drop, it flowed down and dyed a corner of the Celestial Court red. Su Yen looked very old and gray-haired, but the sword ancestor keenly noticed that Su Yen had changed. His eyes were deep, as if the boundless universe was covering over, wanting to sweep across 10,000 worlds and devour the souls of all living beings in the universe. He had changed. Although he was extremely old, he was filled with matchless heavenly might. Chapter 2178. Su Yan's physical body was swaying. He couldn't stand steadily and would fall to the ground at any moment. He had already returned. All the pores on his body were relaxed as he greedily absorbed the energy of heaven and earth. His flesh shell seemed empty like a bottomless pit. It would take a long time for him to recover. Baokai and the others walked over with worried faces. They blamed Su Yen for facing off against the 3 emperors alone. There will be even more terrifying battles in the future. It's better to come in contact with them earlier. Su Yan growled. His eyes were frightening. His blood-stained hair was disheveled and his aged face was full of seriousness. The kings of the celestial court were solemn. Su Yan had most likely experienced something and knew how terrifying and powerful the three emperors were. It would definitely be a nightmare if they came in person. Now that he had tested the law and endured the cruelest ordeal, he would definitely be able to grow stronger in the future. If there were no enemies, this would be a terrible thing. Su Yan would lose the coordinates to advance. He had sacrificed too much in 9 days from his peak to his decline. His life was in danger, but of course, this wouldn't threaten Su Yan's life. The soul power emitted from his frontal bone was intimidating and seemed to be able to see through the world. The onlookers were greatly moved and felt bitter. They knew that the celestial court wanted to unify the three realms for the sake of hegemony outside of the vile earth. It was said that this was outside of the three realms and was related to the chaos of ancient times. It was also related to the existence of the three realms. Once the three realms were destroyed, they would be homeless and could only wait for death. The celestial court wanted to unify the world. In the future, they would be able to fight outside of the three realms and enter the depths of the vile earth. However, all of this was related to Su Yan's karma. Just by relying on the experts of the Heaven Opening series one after another, Su Yan had obtained the 9 supreme scriptures and created the Heaven Opening scripture. This karma was too great. There must be a lot of casualties, right? Su Yan asked. He didn't expect the Emperor Road to attack, nor did he expect the remnant souls of the 3 ancestors to still be alive. He had been careless. You don't have to worry about this. Take the time to recover. A few people replied, their expressions sorrowful. Quite a few old soldiers who had experienced hundreds of battles fell. After the unification of the immortal world, they had conquered the world and enjoyed a peaceful life. In the end, they encountered an unexpected calamity. Baotsai's gaze was somewhat evasive. He did not speak and remained silent. Su Yan was keenly aware of this. He furrowed his brows and involuntarily emitted a powerful might that suppressed all living things. Everyone's heart felt heavy. What happened? Su Yan's eyes were wide open. His gaze was like a knife as he stared at Big Goldie and the others. Old Azure Dragon smiled bitterly. He originally wanted to let Su Yan go into seclusion and tell him after a few days. He didn't expect that he would be able to see through it. Where is Bamboo Moon? Su Yan was so flustered that he didn't notice any traces of Bamboo Moon in the crowd. However, at that time, Bamboo Moon was very close to the place where he sacrificially refined the weapon, so she shouldn't have been attacked. Could it be someone else? Who can answer me? Su Yan was furious. Bao Kai and the others didn't think too much. They all closed their mouths and eyes, but there was sadness on their faces. In an instant, Su Yan opened his heavenly eyes. He saw Bamboo Moon and the Phoenix King inside a palace. However, the scene inside made Su Yan's mind tremble. His eyes were bloodshot, and the fluctuations released from his aged body were exceptionally bitter. His aura was too vicious. He had killed 3 great emperors, experienced an extremely complex great battle, and slaughtered his way out of desperate straits again and again. His figure walked towards the giant palace. He looked at the bed. There was an immortal phoenix creature whose blood was about to dry up lying there. Bamboo Moon sighed. Mu Xian had fallen. At that time, she was wandering around the heavenly palace's entrance, admiring the vast immortal world's scenery below the heavenly palace. In order to monitor the immortal world's various places, the immortal palace had a powerful spacetime mirror that could reflect the immortal world's various spacetime. Mu Xian often used the spacetime mirror to admire the beautiful scenery of the immortal world. At that time, the Emperor Road's sudden attack was too sudden. The Celestial Court's experts tried their best to stop it, but they couldn't stop the Emperor Road's attack. Mu Xian had encountered a calamity. If it weren't for the Emperor weapon in her body, her body wouldn't exist. The Phoenix King wiped his old tears. His face was full of sadness and despair. He felt that the world was too unfair to him. The immortal world had already calmed down. Everywhere was flourishing and ushering in a perfect era. However, his only granddaughter, his only bloodline, had met a calamity and fallen. Bamboo Moon had invited a big brother to personally check on this matter. Even he couldn't do anything about it. Mu Xian. Su Yen roared. His mind was in a frenzy. His eyes were bloodshot. One could see the sorrow in his heart. His messy hair danced in the wind. He couldn't bear it. His roar was so loud that the sky exploded. In his memory, this little girl with silver hair that reached her waist hated evil. Was she gone just like that? Woo woo! Heavenly Dragon Maiden burst into tears. She didn't know about this matter and it was hidden from her. Mu Xian and Heavenly Dragon Maiden's relationship was too good. Baokai and the others didn't have the heart to tell Heavenly Dragon Maiden that Mu Xian couldn't come back. Su Yan's eyes shot out cold lightning. This space-time was trembling. Even the universe's original order was trembling. The wrath of an emperor caused the heavens to collapse and the earth to crack. Ghosts cried and gods howled. The Heaven Palace ushered in a great change. Su Yan's primordial spirit. What's wrong? The 6 elders of the celestial court were shocked. The soul chi emitted from Su Yan's forehead was too strong. Although Su Yan's primordial spirit was also extremely weak, the energy fluctuation that permeated out was terrifying. It was like a slumbering prehistoric monster that was awakening. Su Yan's primordial spirit had mutated. He had also cultivated the 3 monarchs' family's life sutra. During the bloody battle with the 3 monarchs, Su Yan had accidentally swallowed some of the 3 monarchs' primordial spirit's remnant power. This also caused Su Yan's primordial spirit to become abnormal and ridiculous. Of course, he hadn't completely digested it. Now that his primordial spirit had erupted, the soul chi it emitted was unimaginably strong. Even the strongest monarchs had captured the mighty power that transcended space-time. Split open the sky. Su Yen roared. In the great world where the winds and clouds were changing, a vast time vortex was formed in an instant. The great Tao fragments and the light rain of time suddenly went berserk. It was extremely terrifying. As the vortex spun, the scene became even more terrifying. It was enough to swallow all life. Time in the Heaven Palace was flowing backward. Su Yan's figure was no longer in the immortal world. It was as if he had jumped out of the river of fate and attacked the Heaven Palace in the Emperor's Road. Mu Xian. The Phoenix King roared, tears flowing down its old face. It hadn't even seen Mu Xian's final face. What was left for it was only an ice-cold corpse. Now, from the river of time pushed by Su Yan, it saw the complete scene. It saw a beautiful little girl with silver hair that reached her waist. Her waist was slender, youthful and beautiful. She was very lively and cute. Bamboo Moon shed tears. Back when they had just arrived in the immortal world, Mu Xian had helped them greatly. The Phoenix King's help was even greater. She and Mu Xian had also become close friends. However, the Phoenix King's only granddaughter was gone just like that. Baokai and the others couldn't bear it. They roared continuously and were extremely sad. Hong. In an instant, Su Yan's large hand reached out, grabbing towards Mu Xian, who was in perfect condition in the past. Don't stop! Everyone cried out. Su Yan's actions went against the laws of the universe, against the order. This was the long river of time, flowing with all types of terrifying luster. Suddenly, Su Yan crossed over from the future. In the process, his large hand was hacked down by the endless killing tribulation. Bastard! Who dares to stop me? All of you disperse! Su Yan was furious. Cold lightning shot out from his eyes, and he turned into a cold emperor. His declining body welcomed a great explosion. He endured the great killing tribulation head-on. His essence, qi, and spirit were infinitely dangerous. The boundless large hand reached towards the heavenly palace of the past. Immortal Emperor Zhang, the whole world was in an uproar. Seeing Immortal Emperor Zhang's body bleeding, it was about to explode. The pressure he was enduring was too terrifying. The long river of time was roaring, raising terrifying huge waves. The great waves were accompanied by rolling time lightning as they suppressed Su Yan in unison. "I'm the lord of the immortal world. What can't I do?" Su Yan shouted angrily. His thin body suddenly gathered the majestic origin energy of the immortal world. The large hand was terrifying. It crossed the long river of time, blasting open one after another large cracks in the long river of time, covering the space-time of the past. The large hand suddenly grabbed towards the past. Su Yan didn't just want to grab Mu Xian. He also wanted to capture the thousands of soldiers guarding the gate. Hong Long. The long river of time vibrated violently. The storm surged as if it was about to explode. In the end, Immortal Emperor Zhang's heaven-defying action triggered an even more violent storm. It was like a supreme power that crossed the long river of time. Historical stars began to appear in the sky. All kinds of terrifying scenes appeared and rushed towards Su Yan. "Kill!" Su Yan shouted angrily. The world-destroying axe exploded. His strength was strong. His declining body continued to burn, blasting open one after another large crack. His large hand was terrifying to the extreme, and it really did press forward, toward the heavenly palace. However, in the next moment, the heavenly palace shook as if it had angered the heavens. The world was blurry and distorted. The space-time was trembling. It was as if billions of laws were pressing down to destroy the world. "Stop, Su Yan, stop!" Phoenix King's eyes were bloodshot. Once Su Yan affected the future, it would also affect the present. At that time, the immeasurable calamity would be born. The heavenly palace might be destroyed. Su Yan shed tears. He was extremely sad and angry. When he was weak, he was bullied and suppressed. Now, he was strong. He opened up the heavenly palace and created a prosperous era. Mu Xian and the others died under his eyes. Su Yan was extremely angry. He couldn't defy the heavens and change anything. He retracted his large hand. His entire person seemed to have aged. This matter was a great blow to him. He didn't despair when he was fighting against the three emperors. Now, he really felt a trace of despair. In the future, his family and friends might fall in front of him one after another. He couldn't change anything. The enemies he would face in the future would be much crueler than now. "Su Yan, don't use force anymore. The dead can't be revived." Ziqilan sighed. Immortal Emperor Zhang's situation was not good. His injuries were more serious. His skinny body was bleeding and his heart was filled with sorrow. Mu Xian's body was cold. Not a trace of her remnant soul could be found. Not even a trace of obsession was left behind. The process of her death was too fast. What kind of pain was that? Her body and soul were directly destroyed. Immortal Emperor Zhang was silent for a long time. He made a decision and brought Mu Xian's body to the old Dao Palace. Fairy Xia thought of something and frowned. The Mu Xian of this era was different from her of the past. Back then, she couldn't be considered strong. But now, Mu Xian was a peak immortal king who was about to condense an emperor's origin. Once buried in the soil, even if Mu Xian could gather spirituality and survive, would she still be the Mu Xian of the past? As long as she can grow up happily, nothing else is important. Phoenix King trembled and saw hope. Su Yan had a way to revive Mu Xian, but if he really did it, the Mu Xian of the past would no longer be the one who walked out. The special soil was still piled up in the Dao Palace. Su Yan brought the special soil back and spread it in the depths of the heavenly palace. He buried Mu Xian's cold body in it. After doing all this, Su Yan's eyes were cold. They emitted a terrifying light that caused the great Tao of heaven and earth to tremble. Pass down the order. A supreme order was transmitted from the depths of the heavenly palace, pressing down on the various lands of the heavenly palace. At the same time, 3 artifacts flew out. They were inscribed with 3 heaven-opening scriptures and fell into the hands of the leading generals. They could use this opportunity to find the traces of the experts of the 3 emperor clans. Dig 3 feet into the ground and find them all. Cold words resounded in the sky. Endless murderous weapons rushed out and pressed down on the various large territories of the celestial world. Some ancient clans cried out in fear. Back then, the experts of the 3 emperor clans fled to some distant worlds with large amounts of treasures and gave them to these clans. These people in front of them were still hiding in the depths of their ancestral lands. The anger of immortal Emperor Zhang was no small matter. It swept through the various large worlds of the celestial world and caused a huge commotion. Chapter 2179. The purple Qilin took out a purple gold gourd. The moment the seal was removed, rays of light shot out and resonated with the great Tao. What's this? Baokai was shocked as he looked at the purple gold gourd. It was a monarch weapon, and the life force in the gourd was as vast as the sea. The experts in the celestial palace all felt a warmth in their bodies. They could vaguely feel their strength increasing, and their qi and blood were especially vigorous and powerful. They were all moved. There was a supreme great medicine sealed inside. Su Yen was surprised. The gourd spat out a golden pill. It was like a huge, slumbering life form that contained incredible life force. The 6 elders of the celestial court were shocked. They felt their declining qi and blood fill up. Their eyes turned red. This thing was incredible. After so many years, those pills have all been refined. Su Yen exclaimed. Before the Black King went into seclusion, he gathered all the kings of the celestial court and took out all the monarch medicines and rare great medicines to refine a cauldron of them. Obviously, this was one of them. This pill was extremely precious. Even if the most powerful monarch expert suffered heavy injuries, they could still use this opportunity to recover. It was extremely valuable, and there were only 8 of them in the entire celestial court. This was prepared in advance for the future great battle. As the 3 realms continued to produce rare treasured medicines, they would continue to refine monarch pills in the future. This pill is enough for you to recover, but there's not much hope for you to recover to your strongest state. You've been seriously injured, the purple Qilin said. Su Yen shook his head and said, no need. This pill is too precious. There's no need to waste it. Although I've been greatly injured, I didn't hurt my foundation. Keep it. It'll definitely be more useful in the future. With the current situation, there wouldn't be a great battle in the world. The problem of the Emperor Road had been solved. The 3 monarch clans no longer had any backup plans. Su Yen was now the master of the immortal world. He could borrow the vast origin energy of the immortal world to gradually recover. It would only take a little more time. Keep it for self-defense. The purple Qilin sighed and said, this battle was too sudden. They definitely didn't expect that they could summon the Emperor Road. Su Yan's eyes flashed coldly as he stared at the badly damaged Emperor's Road. It was still floating above the heavenly palace. He was curious as to how the remnant spirits of the 3rd forefather had managed to control the Emperor's Road. Su Yen put away the pills and looked at the immortal world with his deep eyes. He had refined a special treasure using the scriptures of the 3 Tharch clans. Once he encountered the core members of the 3 Tharch clans, he would be able to dig them out. Boom! At the peak of the heavenly palace, Su Yan's emaciated figure sat cross-legged, covered in blood. Although the white-haired Su Yen was old and frail, he was even more ferocious now. After absorbing the essence of the immortal world, his body was like a bottomless pit. Suddenly, waves of energy surged into his body. This kind of injury could not be healed in a short period of time. Kill. The various lands of the immortal realm were in turmoil. Great armies were dispatched to suppress the four great regions. The Phoenix King personally led the army and unleashed an incomparably furious flame. This vast war affected the entire immortal world. Some regions were bleeding. Shocking news kept sweeping through the immortal world, causing tens of thousands of sects to be shocked. Heavens, the enraged Lion clan has been passed down for countless years and was once crowned as an emperor clan. They actually hid so many experts from the three Tharch clans. The Draconic Lion clan used to be on good terms with the celestial race, but I did not expect them to be so daring. The immortal world has already been unified. It is the great era of immortal Emperor Zong. He will not tolerate any enemies. An extremely powerful clan was destroyed. Of course, this was not the only one. There were some extremely ancient clans in the immortal world that were heading towards destruction one after another. The immortal world was bleeding, and billions of living beings were shocked and furious. Back then, the celestial race's clay body emperor had sacrificed billions of living beings in the immortal world. If immortal Emperor Zong had not used his clone to suppress the situation at the crucial moment, the number of people who had died would have been immeasurable. The three Tharch clans were destroyed, and the immortal world welcomed a new era. However, no one expected that these ancient clans would dare to harbor the experts of the three Tharch clans. This caused public anger. More than a dozen powerful clans were heading towards destruction in just 3 days. The old ancestors of the ancient great sects all sighed in admiration. This was an unstoppable torrent of history. The experts of the heavenly palace gathered, and billions of troops stood guard. Once the troops were dispatched, they would sweep through the entire immortal world. This was a great purge. A month had passed, and it still had not ended. Blood was flowing everywhere. Armies were dispatched, and the immortal world was under martial law. Roar. On a certain day, a world-shaking roar exploded, shaking the vast space-time of the immortal world. In a great world with vast rivers and mountains, spiritual chi surged vigorously. A huge creature rushed out from within, and if one observed carefully, they would find that it was a huge dragon head. This head was too big, and it filled the sea of stars. The dragon head slightly raised and let out a huge roar. It was simply splitting heaven and earth apart. A mere emperor dares to barge into this sovereign's cave. The dragon head roared, and the sound waves were like the sea. The dragon's might was vast and mighty, engulfing the vast earth. The Phoenix King's body trembled violently, and he was about to explode. A group of soldiers who were charging over were alarmed. The dragon's might was too strong, and it was difficult for them to block it. One after another, they crawled and trembled, about to collapse. "If you kill us, you won't be able to live either," a soldier roared. They didn't expect this to be the place where the strongest emperor was hibernating. His combat strength was extremely strong, and he didn't seem to have aged at all. Could it be that immortal Emperor Zong will start a war with this sovereign because of you little bugs? The dragon head rebuked, and his words exploded in their souls. His might was too strong, and he looked down on the immortal world. He was once a world-shaking expert, and even the three emperor clans had to give him face. Harboring a serious criminal, you will be punished. The Phoenix King's eyes were filled with rage as he roared, "Disrespecting the Lord of the immortal world, you will be punished." Be *starred. Using a junior to suppress me? The dragon head was furious, and the sky exploded. The stars in the sky trembled, and a corner of the immortal world was about to be destroyed. Its aura was too shocking, and when it erupted, all living things were as insignificant as dust. In fact, how could someone as strong as this be willing to submit to Su Yen? It was suddenly the golden age of the three emperor clans, and it was a giant that the three emperor clans didn't want to provoke. Boom! In an instant, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. There was a loud explosion. In a space-time far away from this world, in the depths of the Heaven Palace, a bleeding sword embryo was slashed out. In an instant, the sword embryo tore through spacetime and crossed the boundless spacetime. Everywhere it passed, blood would be shed, and killing intent would surge, and it alarmed thousands of sects and races. The world was shocked. Immortal Emperor Zhang had directly used force. Immortal Emperor Zhang, you are too arrogant. This is my territory. You are even more overbearing than the 3 emperor clans in the past. The dragon head was furious, and its huge dragon eyes sputtered with flames. It was like a peerless true dragon that shocked the 9 heavens and 10 earths. The dragon breath that it spewed out burned the universe and smelted the great Tao. Above the heaven palace, the skinny figure sitting cross-legged suddenly opened his cold eyes. The blood-stained sword embryo was suddenly 10,000 times more terrifying. The veins on the sword body appeared, and suddenly, it formed the figure of immortal Emperor Zhang that spewed out billions of sword light, and it slashed towards the dragon head. Bastard! The dragon head was furious, its terrifying and enormous head erupting with endless immortal splendor. The crown of its head split open, rushing out a great imprint. A true dragon lay there, rippling with extremely terrifying power, simply about to collapse the immortal realm's environment. The bleeding sword embryo and the dragon seal collided, and a loud explosion rang out and sparks bloomed. However, what shocked the experts of thousands of sects was that the sword embryo that Su Yan slashed out was even more terrifying. It chanted scriptures on its own, and the figure of immortal Emperor Zhang appeared. It was as if the peerless god of war that suppressed the universe had appeared. The rolling sword light formed the laws of heaven and earth, and billions of immortal runes shook. It suddenly pressed down on the dragon's seal and sent it flying. Oh no! The dragon head turned pale. This attack was too terrifying. The supreme laws of order rushed out from the sword body, one after another. This was an extremely terrifying power that could kill a strong enemy in an instant. Dragon Turtle, you are too arrogant. It has lived for too long. Does it think that immortal Emperor Zhang will give it 30% when the 3 emperor clans gave it 10%? It doesn't know how to appreciate kindness. The 3 emperor clans were destroyed by immortal Emperor Zhang. What is the dragon turtle? It doesn't know how to adapt to the situation. The old experts of the various clans shook their heads. They saw a huge dragon head rolling down, and it collapsed the vast territory. The immortal sword was unsheathed and cut off the dragon head. At the same time, in the vast world, blood light filled the sky. It seemed like a terrifying creature was dying. Roar! One after another, earth-shattering roars exploded, causing the onlookers to have a headache. Its complete form was revealed. The huge turtle shell covered the sun, moon, and stars. Its body was tens of millions of feet tall, and it was densely covered with mysterious and endless tortoiseshell words. Moreover, its broken dragon head was gradually growing out. It had to be said that this creature was too tenacious. It could survive after being decapitated, and it could even give birth to a new dragon head. Suppress. The sword embryo turned into immortal Emperor Zhang, and billions of sword light rays tore the sky apart. He extended his large hand forward and released the heavenly palm. This palm revealed an endless amount of majestic power, as if an extraterrestrial calamity was pressing down. The strength of his battle prowess caused the giant dragon turtle to tremble, as if it was about to disintegrate and collapse. Immortal Emperor Zhang, please show mercy. At this moment, the dragon turtle was terrified. It didn't expect Immortal Emperor Zhang to be so domineering, wanting to kill it directly. Su Yan's big hand pressed down, forming a majestic mountain that was hundreds of millions of feet tall. It was as if the first mountain in the celestial world had been reconstructed, and it pressed down heavily. The dragon turtle screamed. Its turtle shell collapsed and was about to shatter completely. No, Immortal Emperor Zhang, please show mercy. I know I was wrong, I know I was wrong. Please don't kill me. It screamed in horror. It completely recognized the reality and begged for mercy in fear. Su Yen was the ruler of the celestial world, and he controlled the environment of the celestial world. No one could go against him. The dragon turtle even quickly told him some information to save its life. Seeing that it wasn't easy for you to cultivate, I'll suppress you for 500 years. Immortal Emperor Zhang sat cross-legged at the peak of the heavenly palace. His skinny figure was majestic as he shouted coldly, 500 years later, submit to the heavenly palace, or I'll kill you without mercy. His words were law, and it resounded throughout the celestial world, shaking the world. This was the strongest emperor. Immortal Emperor Zhang's main body didn't kill him, and he used the bleeding sword embryo to suppress him directly. Boom! The towering mountain that was billions of feet tall, covered in countless sword scars and laws, suppressed the dragon turtle. During this process, if the dragon turtle had any thoughts of resisting, it would be instantly killed. The dragon turtle that had lived for countless years was directly suppressed by Su Yan's slap. At the same time, the Phoenix King and the others charged in. There was really a big fish hiding inside. An old giant was hiding inside, and he was terrified. There was even a group of celestial race experts. Heavens, there are 2 emperor herbs inside! A soldier exclaimed. The dragon turtle's cave abode was too majestic. There were great herbs everywhere, and in the deepest world there were 2 complete emperor herbs. The Phoenix King even found a complete celestial world spring inside. He couldn't help but suck in a cold breath. This dragon turtle's wealth was too shocking. Even some ancient emperor clans couldn't compare to it. The dragon turtle was in despair. It was so painful that it was bleeding. The wealth it had guarded for a long time was now directly used by Su Yen. I hate it! The dragon turtle roared. If it wasn't for the wealth the celestial race gave it, it wouldn't want to cause trouble. Wouldn't it be better to be a landlord? It was too late to say anything now. If it couldn't figure it out in 500 years, its life would be in danger. Boom! At this moment, Su Yen left the heavenly palace, crossed the vast space, and arrived in a dark ancient world. He's here, Immortal Emperor Zhang is here. The experts in the underground palace shouted in fear, losing their previous calmness. The entire underground palace began to tremble because of Su Yan's arrival. The dragon turtle must have betrayed them and revealed the location of its final nest to Su Yen. Chapter 2180. The underground palace was hidden too deeply. This ancient land contained an extremely powerful ancient formation that sealed the sky and earth. It was as if the immortal world didn't exist. Now, the thick ground was collapsing. Huge cracks appeared on the ground, one after another. This world was collapsing. Smoke and dust billowed and rocks flew into the sky. Although Immortal Emperor Zhang's body was skinny and his hair was white, he was old and weak. However, his ferocious aura was too strong. It was as if a supreme heavenly lord had crossed over. He lifted his foot and destroyed this ancient world. The underground palace also began to collapse. Ah! The underground palace was bleeding. A terrifying aura spread out. It was boundless and majestic. Many living beings were crushed into pieces and exploded into bloody light. Several Emperor Dao experts fought with their lives. Unfortunately, it was useless. Su Yan's sudden aging was not something they could fight against. The underground palace was swept away by Su Yan. One after another, the Emperor Dao experts began to fall and die. The immortal world was in an uproar. The final nest of the 3 emperor clans was dug out. The sky cried blood and the sun and moon lost their light. The skinny figure destroyed this underground palace world. The surviving Emperor Dao experts cried out in grief, Immortal Emperor Zhang, don't be too happy. The 3 emperor clans have controlled the immortal world for countless years. The ancestor Heavenly Emperor is still alive. Sooner or later, he will come and settle the score with you. Immortal Emperor Zhang's eyes shot out a cold lightning. It shattered the primordial spirit of the roaring expert. His eyes were filled with coldness. It was as frightening as a heavenly blade. Rumble! The bleeding underground palace collapsed. The sky was filled with fragments of the great Tao. The life in this world had reached its limit. Ashes to ashes. Ashes to ashes. The collapse in front of Su Yan's figure. The ground was ruined. The scene was monstrous. Immortal Emperor Zong floated in this world. He explored the ruined world and dug out hundreds of secret treasure vaults. He sneered and did not say a word. This treasure vault was impressive. It seemed like when the celestial court was rebuilt, the three emperor clans had prepared a backup plan. A huge number of treasures were sealed in here. There were all kinds of strange items. Su Yan checked these treasures, trying to find something. Finally, Su Yan's eyes fixed on a bronze lamp. He could not see through it. It's related to the Emperor Road. Su Yan's eyes glowed brightly as he saw through the clues. He put the bronze lamp away. Although the Emperor's Road was broken and dilapidated, it still had a lot of value. Perhaps this lamp had something to do with it. He searched inside and out dozens of times, but couldn't find anything of value. Su Yan left this ruined world and returned to the heavenly palace. He sat there for 100 years. His figure did not move at all. He seemed even older. His blood and qi dried up. His hair was snow white and his body was withered and withered. On this day, a terrifying divine sound reverberated from the depths of the heavenly palace, shaking heaven and earth. Boom! Su Yan raised his head and roared towards the sky. His withered body was blazing hot, and his dried blood and qi roared fiercely. It was an extremely shocking scene. Su Yan exploded in power for a short period of time. His body was brimming with vitality, his white hair became glossy black, and his skinny flesh shell became plump and translucent. Step by step, he walked towards his peak. Immortal Emperor Zong has recovered. The heavenly palace was in an uproar. A new round of the genius battle had begun. Immortal Emperor Zong had recovered to his peak, and his aura had become even stronger. His body emitted a vast wave that rippled far and wide, causing the celestial world's vision to soar into the sky. Su Yan had not only recovered to his peak, but his combat strength had also increased. After 100 years of recuperation, he felt that his Emperor Road had reached its peak. This was a feeling that he had never felt before. It was a feeling of power that he had never felt before. It was as if he had reached the end of his life's road. Su Yan's eyes glowed with divine light, like two celestial swords tearing the universe apart. Is this the peak? His body emitted a terrifying essence, qi and spirit. How could he be willing to reach the peak like this? Su Yan was the master of the celestial world, and he controlled the environment of heaven and earth. He had a long future ahead of him. Su Yan's eyes widened as he looked towards the celestial court. He could feel that Big Brother was a lot more terrifying than 100 years ago. His improvement was too fast. Without a doubt, Big Brother and the celestial court's environment had merged together, replacing the celestial Emperor Road. He had already touched the Supreme Road, but what was this road? How many difficulties were there? Su Yan did not know. The Tao Saint Immortal had also touched the Quasi-Supreme, and the Black King and the others had been in seclusion for a long time to explore and strengthen themselves. In short, to participate in the war in the depths of the vile earth in the future, he had to walk the Supreme Road, and walk the path beyond the Emperor's realm. He had to rely on himself to explore everything. Su Yan's figure flashed, and he appeared at Mu Xian's place of hibernation. The Phoenix King had been guarding here all these years. This was a kind of torture for him, and he did not want to see anything bad. The sparkling soil on the ground was mysterious and unfathomable. It was spread in the palace, and no one would have thought that this soil had the heaven-defying effect of reviving the dead. Even as powerful as Su Yan was now, he could not see the origin of this soil. Why did it contain such unbelievable power? This seemed to be the reincarnation soil, and also the soil of creation. However, He could not find any clues related to this soil even after searching through the ancient books. Su Yen reached out his palm and reached into the soil. What's wrong? The Phoenix King saw Su Yen frowning, and his expression was serious. He could not help but tremble. There's a big problem with this soil. Su Yen was uneasy. When his hand reached in, it seemed to have disappeared, as if it did not exist, as if he had reached into a world that did not exist. The soil covered Su Yan's hand completely. It was as if he had lost a hand. This was too ridiculous and strange. Back then, Su Yen dug fairy xia out from the soil. Long Daesong also used this special soil to survive. Su Yen took a deep breath and pulled Mu Xian out from inside. It was a brilliant and colorful silver phoenix, its wings full of feathers, flowing with brilliant divine multicolored light, full of exuberant vitality. She was ridiculously resurrected. The Phoenix King shed tears, and his burly body trembled. He was so excited that he could not be any more emotional. Finally, he let out a low cry. It was little Mu Xian. She had survived. Her body contained life and boundless vitality. She was like a newborn phoenix that had just opened its large, hazy eyes. Pure and innocent. She was like a crystal, beautiful and cute. She was very curious. Who was the person opposite her? She was very confused and could not remember who she was. However, she instinctively spread her silver wings and wanted to fly. Ha ha! Ha! Su Yen laughed heartily and looked at Mu Xian. She was very happy. She danced in the sky, overflowing with multicolored light and auspicious colors. It was as if she had turned into the purest immortal phoenix of that time. Mother of God! The miser shouted. This was a little phoenix. Yuan also came. He was shocked and incredulous. A dead creature had come back to life and forgotten the memories of her previous life. It was like a kind of reincarnation and reincarnation. If this spread, who would dare to believe it? Resurrection from the dead. Isiyun was in disbelief. She walked out of the hall with Bamboo Moon. Both their bodies and minds were shocked. In short, this matter was strictly kept within the heavenly palace. The little phoenix lived here. Although she had lost the memories of her previous life, she still felt close to the Phoenix King. The Phoenix King showed a long-lost smile. Although Mu Xian had lost her memories, he believed that Mu Xian would grow up happily here without any worries. This was what he wanted. The result. She liked to stand on Immortal Zhang's shoulder, spread her wings, stretch her body, and yawn. In the depths of the heavenly palace, there were beautiful mountains and clear waters. After hundreds of years of development, this world was full of outstanding people, birds chirped and flowers bloomed. It was quiet and peaceful. More than 10 years had passed. Su Yen had been studying the bronze lamp. Mu Xian had entered the path of cultivation. Her growth was surprisingly fast. She had also transformed. Her appearance was the same as before. She was a little girl with waist-length silver hair. Her big eyes were pure and innocent, without any worries or worries. Ah, the wick is burning. Mu Xian was shocked. Her big eyes widened as she pointed at the bronze lamp wick. Su Yen wore a long white robe and smiled. He had studied the bronze lamp for a long time and finally had a result. This was not an ordinary lamp. Su Yen still could not figure out its ultimate origin. He used his soul flame to ignite the bronze lamp. This lamp was connected to the Emperor Road. However, Su Yen felt that the connection was not strong. It seemed to have other uses. In an instant, the Emperor Road that was full of holes started to rumble and rotate. It was extremely tragic. The entire heavenly palace was in a state of emergency. Compared to the era when the heavenly palace was breached, the heavenly palace's response was much faster. The sky was filled with killing weapons. One after another, terrifying experts rushed toward the heavenly palace. Don't panic. It's Immortal Zhang. Someone saw Su Yen rushing toward the Emperor Road with a lamp in his hand. Open! Su Yen shouted. The badly damaged Emperor Road suddenly burst into flames, releasing a horrifying wave of energy. Although it was crippled by Su Yan, this road still existed. It was the supreme order of laws. Su Yan called for the Big Brother to harvest the great creation. What a joke! The Emperor Road was the path of the immortal world's expert. It contained the profound mysteries of the supreme great Tao. It was forged by the three emperor ancestors with their blood, sweat, and tears. He had an extremely terrifying Tao technique. This must be a Tao technique that led to the supreme great Tao. The origin of the Emperor Road. The Big Brother was shocked. Under the illumination of the bronze lamp, they could see the origin of this road. It was as if they had peeked into the profound mysteries of the three emperor ancestors' supreme orthodoxy. After all, they had obtained 3 scriptures from the 3 emperor clans. The Big Brother exchanged with the Black King and the others. The kings of the celestial court looked at the origin of the Emperor Road together. Such a vast project. I wonder how long it took. The supreme great Tao of the origin? When the strongest emperors went to investigate, they felt as if they had fallen into the cosmic sea and reached the end of the laws. They were all in a daze and could not find any profound mysteries. Only the Black King and a few other experts with profound cultivation could observe for a long time without being affected. In the end, Su Yan and the others decided to split the Emperor Road. After 30 years, the Emperor Road was split into 3 roads. Each road was like a supreme imprint. It was as if the supreme divine spirit was about to become a celestial emperor. The 3 roads corresponded to the Celestial Emperor, the Reincarnation Emperor, and the Immortal Emperor. Roar! Big Black opened his mouth and swallowed the profound orthodoxy left behind by the Reincarnation Emperor. The Big Brother's face darkened. This was too dangerous. If he was not careful, he would be crippled. However, Big Black was bold. He felt that he was just a step away from tearing through the checkpoint. If he could absorb the essence of the Reincarnation Emperor's orthodoxy, it would provide him with valuable experience and help him break through. Seeing that the Purple Qilin and the others were also tempted, the Big Brother shook his head. Little Black's cultivation technique is deeply related to the Reincarnation sect. Don't try it. Just watch. Surpass the strongest emperor? How could it be so easy? How many people had walked out in the history of the 3 realms? Too many to count. FPZW. Chapter 2181. Time passed slowly, and 300 years had passed. The Celestial Palace had been established for almost 1,000 years, ushering in a golden era. The younger generation rose up one after another, and all kinds of terrifying physiques were awakened. Generation after generation of young kings were born. This was an extremely brilliant era. The 3 realms were peaceful, and the young overlords rose up one after another. In a brand new era, one cultivation realm after another began to compete for supremacy. The celestial court needed young overlords who were invincible in their generation. In the future, they could replace them and rule the 3 realms. Human world, immortal world, celestial court. The 9 steps to heaven formed by the 3 realms had nurtured countless geniuses. The foundation of the celestial court's younger generation continued to increase. In the future, it would usher in the most intense collision, and the birth of a true monarch. The dragon turtle had surrendered and entered the celestial court, becoming the divine guardian of the celestial court. It was well behaved and did not dare to breathe too loudly. Its entry caused the immortal world to undergo another great change. Almost 1,000 years had passed, and the world had almost forgotten the bloody history of the past. The immortal world was thriving and flourishing. A new era began, and the celestial court gathered the fortune of the immortal world. Batch after batch of old antiques joined the celestial court. In this world full of experts, a murderous light flowed out from the depths of the celestial court on this day. Clang! At the place where immortal Emperor Zong refined his weapon, the sword radiance shot out in all directions. This sword was about to be refined. In the past 300 years, Su Yen rarely appeared in the celestial court. He was often silent and lost track of time. It was as if he had become another person. Sometimes, Mu Xian felt that Su Yen was very scary. It was as if he had formed a second personality. His eyes were cold, and he looked down on all living things. He was too majestic and oppressive, and people could not help but want to submit to him. It was as if he had turned into a ruthless emperor. In the past 300 years, Su Yen had been observing the Tao fruits left behind by the Celestial Emperor and Immortal Emperor. Although he did not absorb them, the influence of these Tao fruits was quite incredible. In recent years, Su Yen had gradually stabilized and returned to normal. These orthodoxies could no longer affect Su Yen. They were all seen through by him, and he began to explore his own path. The path of supremacy. Su Yan's eyes were shining brightly, as if he had seen through the past and the future. Boom! Behind Immortal Emperor Zhang, the sun and moon were sinking. The scene was horrifying. This was a power that could reverse the past and present. It was flowing and rippling, causing the grand Tao of the 9 heavens to boil. Vaguely, a grand vision rose up behind Su Yen. As it rotated, it deduced one complete universe after another. It revolved around Su Yen, and the aura it exuded was extremely powerful. They were about to crush the 9 heavens and 10 earths. This kind of power suddenly tore apart the environment of the celestial world, wanting to become the most supreme existence in the world. Cough! Su Yen coughed up a mouthful of blood. He sensed a backlash from the unseen world. He didn't know where it came from, but it seemed to originate from the 3 realms. His body trembled as the blood in his body churned. In fact, once someone as powerful as Immortal Zhang was injured, he was destined to shock the world. Su Yen hadn't reached the peak state of the strongest monarch, so he couldn't open the great treasure that originated from heaven and earth. He couldn't further explore the profound mysteries of the supreme path. What exactly was the utmost being? Su Yen didn't know what to say. Why is there a suppression? There was an unseen existence guiding him to explore and uncover the secrets. However, he had a feeling that it would be difficult. He didn't have the strength to face it yet, and needed time to settle down. Su Yen even felt that once he stepped on this path, he might very well die. He didn't know why he had such a feeling. It was ridiculous. He was now the master of the celestial world, but Immortal Zhang discovered an even more glorious and vast background. It shrouded the 3 realms and was filled with fog. Su Yan's expression was solemn, and he felt uneasy. Let's complete the blood sacrifice of this sword embryo first. Su Yen came to the place where the killing sword was refined. He raised his hand and threw the essence of the Celestial Emperor and Immortal Emperor's orthodoxy into the sword embryo. Boom! In an instant the sword embryo shone brilliantly. It was about to explode as it burned. What's that thing that almost broke Immortal Zhang's sword embryo? Could it be that he refined another unimaginable supreme treasure? But Su Yan's sword embryo has definitely grown into the strongest Emperor Tao's supreme treasure. Everyone in the Celestial Palace was in a heated discussion. The sword embryo emitted 2 strong waves, as if billions of immortal suns had exploded, tearing the heavens apart. The celestial world shook. The place where the heavenly weapon was being refined triggered a phenomenon that swept across the world. Immortal Zhang! Many young geniuses shouted, their words filled with fanaticism. He was the master of the celestial world. At this moment, Su Yen was extremely powerful. His palms pushed the power to support the heavens into the killing sword. After all, this was the orthodoxy of the Celestial Emperor and Immortal Emperor. It was powerful and terrifying. It could be said that the supreme power flowed in the sword body. If the sword embryo hadn't fused with the remnants of the 3 Emperor weapons, it would be extremely difficult for it to withstand. Refine. Su Yan's magic power overflowed. He used his own blood essence to derive the law order and penetrated it into the sword embryo. After 3 years, the sword embryo let out a boom and its aura became much more terrifying. Many people were bleeding. The sword's light beam was too resplendent. Chi. The sword embryo shone, and the veins on the sword body flashed. The sword energy that rushed out cut down the stars in the sky. This was just sword energy that erupted on its own. Heaven and earth were like torn paper, cut apart. The sword's aura was too fierce. The great Tao was broken, and the celestial world was wailing. It was like a peerless sword embryo that judged the heavens. It burned violently and released endless sword light. Sword name, immortal slaying. Su Yan's eyes widened. As soon as he said this, the immortal slaying sword roared violently. In an instant, billions of sword light slashed out. It was enough to tear apart the ancient river, destroy the great Tao and order. Its killing intent shook the heavens and the earth. Congratulations, immortal Zhang! The whole world was filled with congratulations. Tens of thousands of sects came to pay their respects. The leaders of the major races all rushed to the Celestial Palace. The Celestial Palace held a grand event. It was unprecedentedly prosperous. Carriage after carriage of congratulatory gifts were sent to the various treasure vaults of the Celestial Palace. Immortal Zhang became even more prosperous. He carried the immortal slaying sword on his back. The sword made the dragon turtle's neck feel cold. He felt that as long as this sword was slashed open, it could easily cut off his head. It definitely surpassed the category of supreme true treasures. It should be considered a quasi-supreme true treasure. Of course, it was even more terrifying than the Sky Force ancestor god's Sky Piercer. After hundreds of years, it was smelted into immortal materials and something related to the 3 emperors. This sword embryo was too sharp. It contained an unparalleled fierce aura. Su Yan walked in the Celestial Palace's banquet. Bamboo Moon and Mu Xian stood beside him. Some people looked at this scene with strange expressions. However, they did not dare to say anything. This was Immortal Zhang's private matter. The month-long banquet ended. The Celestial Palace's prestige was even greater. Some people felt that the 3 realms were really going to be unified. Would it take a longer time to attack the Dark World? They were not worried that the Dark Emperor could rise again. He had not risen for tens of millions of years, let alone in the short span of 1,000 years. I wonder when he'll wake up? Su Yan went to the human world. Looking at the area where Su Xiu was, his figure was getting more and more blurry. Su Yan shook his head slightly. It seemed like it would take a long time. The human emperor's orthodoxy was not to be underestimated. Su Yan used the human emperor's sutra to comprehend it. He could vaguely grasp a supreme feeling. Human emperor is a supreme? Or a quasi-supreme? Immortal Zhang stayed in the human world for hundreds of years before leaving. After returning to the Celestial Palace, Su Yan went into seclusion for 200 years. At this moment, he was really watching the ups and downs of time, watching the development of history, and watching the rise of the younger generation. The Black King might have succeeded. He took a small step forward. The celestial court was in an uproar. It was jubilant. The place where the Black King was in seclusion gave off an extremely majestic aura. It was as if he was going to open the ancient world of reincarnation, cross the long river of history, influence the reincarnation of heaven and earth, and become a supreme. This is really great. As long as Su Yan controls the immortal world's Tao origin, his combat strength will be even more terrifying. Now that so many years have passed, I guess he will succeed soon? Although Immortal Zhang was the lord of the immortal world, he did not change the environment of the immortal world with his own Tao imprint. The main reason was that Su Yan felt that his accumulation was not enough. He still needed to deepen his foundation. 300 years of seclusion, isolated from the world. Half a month later, the Celestial Palace was not calm. Extremely terrifying fluctuations were awakened in the depth. One after another, it was as if a sleeping ancient giant was awakening and awakening. It emitted an unparalleled supreme pressure. Boom! Loud noises echoed in the sky. The pressure was majestic and shocking. It was as if a boundless galaxy was pressing down at the same time, covering the celestial palace world and pressing down on everyone's heart. Comparisons are odious. The 6 elders of the celestial court sighed. They had tried to improve over the years, but it was too difficult. However, Su Yan's growth was too shocking. Since he stepped into the strongest emperor, his combat strength had been increasing day and night. At this moment, he seemed to have reached his limit. Boom! The sky was pushed open. Su Yan's figure was huge and terrifying. At this moment, he felt that he had reached his limit and could not take another step forward. Once he tried to break through, he felt that endless shackles were pressing down on him. Obviously, this was the limitation that the Sword Ancestor had mentioned. They were suppressed, restricted by the environment. The strongest emperor was restricted by the environment. If they wanted to transcend, they had to walk the supreme path. Although Su Yan was the lord of the immortal world, he relied on the black and white qi. He was not the true lord of the immortal world. At this moment, Su Yan wanted to blend in with the environment. This is the path that Dao's celestial emperor walked in the past. Su Yan's eyes shot out cold lightning. Blending in with the environment, the power he obtained should be at the pseudo-supreme level. In other words, the human emperor and the others were all pseudo-supreme. Of course, before Dao's celestial emperor left the 3 realms, he had become stronger and sublimated. Perhaps he had become a true supreme, an extreme. Su Yan pondered. Should he take this path? It was not difficult for him to have the combat strength of a pseudo-supreme. He could be on the same level as his big brother. The path that Dao's celestial emperor walked was also the same path that the human emperor and the others walked. Of course, there were definitely other paths that could break through the shackles of the world. Su Yan was thinking about a problem. The 3 emperor ancestors and the others had not been able to become a true supreme after so long. Perhaps they were also restricted by the environment. Could it be that only by going outside the 3 realms could one open the supreme path? Oh! Su Yan's expression changed. He had not shown such an expression for many years. At the moment when his physical body erupted, his body trembled uncontrollably. Heaven-burying cave. Su Yan's primordial spirit sensed that his physical body was undergoing a huge change. The 33 heavens of heaven-burying cave had appeared in his body. Originally, it had merged with Su Yan's physical body. Now, heaven-burying cave had erupted, spewing out 9-colored immortal radiance. It had changed. It had merged into one and turned into a 9-colored heavenly coffin. Su Yan roared in pain. He felt that his physical body was about to explode. He even had a feeling that it did not belong to him anymore. No matter what, Su Yan could not believe that the 9-colored heavenly coffin would target him. It emitted an unimaginable energy fluctuation as if it wanted to devour Su Yan. Cough, cough, immortal Emperor Zong coughed up blood. His flesh shell flickered, and he felt that he was about to die. His physical body was torn into pieces. Large cracks appeared one after another. He struggled in a pool of blood and felt pain. This 9-colored heavenly coffin contained a terrifying demonic nature. It seemed to have drifted over from the land of doom. It rumbled and destroyed Su Yan's physical imprint. It wanted to devour his flesh shell. Big brother Su Yan. Mu Xian came. Her beautiful face turned pale. She let out an ear-piercing scream and almost fell to the ground. Go, go! Su Yan waved his hand and roared in pain. The problem he was facing was too serious. The 9-colored heavenly coffin was reviving. It seemed like it wanted to destroy Su Yan. This was the 9-colored heavenly coffin that was related to the root of the chaos in the 3 realms. If it wanted to kill Su Yan, it would definitely bring about a calamity. Arg! Su Yan screamed. The fluctuations emitted by the 9-colored heavenly coffin were getting stronger and stronger. It was as if it wanted to crush all of his life force. This was a shocking change. Su Yan could not imagine it. In the end, he was going to be killed by this 9-colored heavenly coffin. The 9-colored heavenly coffin was going to kill him. My child, in the dark, Su Yan caught a huge shadow. It seemed to have crossed the river of time, walked from a distant era to this era, and whispered in his ear. Chapter 2182. Su Yan's body was bleeding and covered in wounds. It was a tragic sight. He had never encountered such a situation before. His body had undergone a major change and was no longer under Su Yan's control. This was too dangerous. Su Yan's body no longer belonged to Su Yan. In the process, immortal Zhang would find it difficult to resist. Boom! The 9-colored heavenly coffin exploded, and 9-colored celestial light filled the sky. This kind of energy was too ridiculous. It was as if it could destroy the eternal prosperity and everything in the grand universe. As powerful as Su Yan was, he was already the lord of the celestial world. His combat power was shocking, and he looked down on the world. His body was naturally powerful. It was a heavenly embryo that had been nurtured for billions of years. But now Su Yan's body was full of cracks. The pungent smell of blood spilled out and dyed the ground red. In a short time, he was seriously injured and couldn't get up. He could only struggle in the pool of blood. Bastard! Su Yan roared angrily. His blood-stained hair tore the void. His primordial spirit erupted. He wanted to control his body and suppress the 9-colored heavenly coffin. Unfortunately, it was useless. The power of the 9-colored heavenly coffin was too shocking and indescribable. It was like a supreme holy object in the world. Su Yan's flesh shell was rotten. The life imprint in his body began to dim and break. It was as if it no longer belonged to him, and even became a little unfamiliar. I, Su Yan, have been in the cultivation world for thousands of years. When have I ever encountered such a helpless situation? You were actually injured by the 9-colored heavenly coffin in my body. This is really ridiculous. This is the sky-burying cave, my place of hibernation. Su Yan's eyes widened in anger and he shouted in grief. How could this be? What kind of treasure was the 9-colored heavenly coffin? It had severely injured Su Yan in a short time, and he didn't have any power to fight back. Who would believe it if this spread out? After all, this was one of the root causes of the chaos in the 3 realms. It had long been refined into Su Yan's body. This coffin was filled with an indescribable fluctuation. It flowed with strands of 9-colored celestial radiance, as if it had formed the supreme profundity of the law. It was so terrifying that even Su Yan's heavenly embryo couldn't bear it. His physical body was constantly being destroyed and was about to explode. His primordial spirit did everything it could to suppress it. He suddenly brandished the immortal slaying sword to hack at the 9-colored heavenly coffin, but it was still useless. This object could be said to be indestructible, filled with the most powerful fluctuations that surpassed the ancients and dazzled contemporaries. It continuously crushed Su Yan's physical body. In fact, if it weren't for Su Yan's powerful mortal body, he would have exploded in a single exchange. Not even his bones would have remained. Not good. Su Yan's expression changed drastically. Not only was the 9-colored heavenly coffin crushing his mortal body, but it was also sucking away his exuberant blood essence. This 9-colored heavenly coffin that was stained with blood faintly exuded an unfathomable divine might. The 9-colored celestial radiance surged and was about to rush up and pierce through Su Yan's forehead, drowning Su Yan's sea of consciousness. In an instant, Su Yan's sea of consciousness trembled violently. Even his powerful primordial spirit couldn't provide any help. Su Yan's head was collapsing. The nine-colored celestial radiance surged in his sea of consciousness, causing his life imprint to become infinitely dim and blurry. No! Su Yan's eyes were about to split open. He was going to die. It could even be said that he was going to be replaced by the nine-colored heavenly coffin. Su Yan's eyes were wide open in anger. At this moment, he felt even more powerless. He had never encountered such a cruel situation before. He couldn't even use any power to resist. All his memories started to become blurry as if they had completely disappeared. Su Yan was about to be driven mad. How could this be? The nine-colored heavenly coffin finally became a fatal threat. He realized that the more his mortal body deteriorated, the more terrifying the nine-colored heavenly coffin was. It seemed to be using his own blood essence as a guide to recover and revive. My child. In the bloody heaven and earth, Su Yan struggled in pain. All of this happened in a short period of time. His dizzy primordial spirit, immortal Zong, who was about to forget all of his memories, heard an ancient and vast voice reverberating in his ears. It was as if it had crossed a long time ago and entered his sea of consciousness. Boom! In an instant, Su Yan's dimmed sea of consciousness and dissipated memories were fiercely awakened at the same time. He let out a low roar and woke up from his confusion and muddle-headedness. It was as if he had arrived at the origin of all living beings. In this gloomy world, the world was vast and boundless, with no end in sight. Thump, thump, thump. One sound after another, the footsteps attacked. It was very rhythmic, as if it was trampling on the hearts of all living beings. It was a shadow that was somewhat blurry and gloomy. It couldn't be seen clearly, as if it had crossed over from the other side of the universe. However, the closer it got, the darker and blurrier the shadow became. It was as if it was walking towards nothingness and chaos. Who are you? Su Yan shouted with an expression of disbelief. My child? He was born and nurtured by the heavens. This historical problem had been solved and there wouldn't be any mistake. Therefore, this person wouldn't be related to him by blood. The gloomy shadow seemed to have walked in front of Su Yan. Su Yan found that the space-time he was in had become even darker and blurrier. There were no laws of order and no environment. At this moment, Su Yan understood that this person was definitely in contact with a supreme, or a quasi-supreme. His shadow shrouded the entire world and covered Su Yan's primordial spirit. He whispered in his ears and transmitted one after another rhythmic syllable after another. It was like an inheritance and a supreme Tao. However, this was too profound and complicated. It was difficult to understand and explain. Suddenly, even Su Yan's primordial spirit found it difficult to bear. However, for some reason, Su Yan accepted it easily and grasped it easily. This supreme Tao seemed to have been stored in his body all along. Now, he finally found the key to open the treasure and the mysterious inheritance. Hong Long. Suddenly, Su Yan's ruined body shone and was dyed in blood. However, his bloodline was still intact. The 10-colored precious blood suddenly began to boil, roaring and erupting like a cosmic tsunami. The 10-colored precious blood flowed and revolved. The aura was already berserk. Countless precious blood pierced towards the 9-colored heavenly coffin. Strand after strand of precious blood flowed into the heavenly coffin, as if the essence blood was returning to the heavenly coffin. The heavenly coffin rumbled. Su Yan's precious blood contained a mysterious power that urged the heavenly coffin to stop moving. Who are you? Su Yan muttered. He really wanted to know who that shadow was. He discovered that the gloomy shadow seemed to originate from the 9-colored heavenly coffin. He couldn't get an answer. This 9-colored heavenly coffin was too mysterious. Even though its ridiculous power was suppressed, Su Yan still found it extremely difficult to open it. Now, Su Yan's body was in tatters and almost rotted. His blood dyed the ground red. One could well imagine how serious his injuries were. Only his primordial spirit was blazing like an undying divine lamp. The precious blood pierced into the heavenly coffin. Even though it had stopped awakening, the aura it emitted was still there. The flowing power was still there. Could it be that I really have to completely merge with it to solve this problem? Su Yan's expression was extremely gloomy. He had obtained a supreme Tao that allowed him to completely merge with the nine-colored heavenly coffin, allowing the nine-colored heavenly coffin to replace his own body. This was too ridiculous and preposterous. So much so that who could do it? However, Su Yan was different. Back then, when he was sleeping at the peak of the 33 layers of heaven, the precious blood in his body was contaminated with the heavenly coffin's aura. His life also had a trace of the heavenly coffin's aura. Rather than saying that Su Yan was born from the Three Realms Mountain, it was better to say that Su Yan was born from the nine-colored heavenly coffin in Heaven Burial Cave. Heaven Burial Cave was the nine-colored heavenly coffin. In fact, this coffin was quite inconceivable. Was it an artifact or something? Or was it refined by an unimaginable existence? Su Yan had many questions in his heart. If he really refined this coffin into one with him, it was hard to imagine how strong Su Yan was on that day. One had to know that the dark heavenly coffin controlled by the dark world was so powerful that even the world-destroying battle-axe couldn't break it. Once Su Yan refined the nine-colored heavenly coffin into his body, he would definitely become a terrifying overlord. However, Su Yan wasn't willing to give up. He had his own path to walk. His heaven-opening scripture was about to reach perfection. He even felt that the nine-colored heavenly coffin was uncontrollable and would rush out to kill him one day. He was in a dilemma. The current Su Yan was already at the limits of the strongest monarch realm. Did he still need to rely on external forces to grow? Just as Su Yan was thinking, the nine-colored heavenly coffin rumbled once more. The pressure caused Su Yan's body to tremble once more. He roared in pain. If he didn't make a decision, he would really die. However, the most important thing was that Su Yan wasn't strong enough. If he really replaced his body with the nine-colored heavenly coffin, would his primordial spirit be able to control a new body? He had too many worries. He was also very wary of this mysterious nine-colored heavenly coffin. It had almost killed him just now. Big brother Su Yan! Mu Xian cried. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she ran over. Mu Xian! Su Yan's primordial spirit looked at Mu Xian. Suddenly, his expression changed. He was surprised and shocked. His primordial spirit also shouted, "Throw that lamp back. Mu Xian, don't come near me." Mu Xian naturally couldn't forget the mysterious bronze lamp. It had always been placed on the stone table. Su Yan had studied it for many years. She turned into an immortal phoenix and spread her wings. She charged towards the flickering bronze lamp and threw it at Su Yan. There was a lamp with a flickering flame in its wick, flickering between light and darkness. It was a very strange scene. All of a sudden, it smashed over and sat directly on Su Yan's body. This lamp looked extremely ancient and mysterious. The lamp's wick seemed to be burning with a raging fire that could burn everything. However, Su Yan couldn't sense the temperature. Of course, he could vaguely sense that the flame contained a certain amount of energy and order. In a short period of time, the nine-colored heavenly coffin trembled violently as if it was being suppressed. The nine-colored immortal radiance it emitted continued to dim. What is this? Su Yan's eyes widened. It's suppressing the nine-colored heavenly coffin. Is this the coffin-suppressing lamp? Or is it some ridiculous supreme treasure? Or should I say that they are all products of a series? Su Yan was in a perilous situation. It was as if he had encountered the most monstrous matter in the world. A bronze lamp sat on top of his broken body. A mysterious flame burned and gradually suppressed the nine-colored heavenly coffin. Could this thing be able to open the nine-colored heavenly coffin? Third ancestor, you are really too generous. You gave me a priceless treasure. Su Yan exclaimed. Immortal Emperor Zhang was really shocked. Was the most terrifying secret about to be revealed? Maybe if he figured out the value of this coffin, he could directly find out the origin of the war between the three realms. Chapter 2183. Immortal Emperor Zhang shook his head and sneered. The three great heavenly coffins were items that all major factions would fight for. The heavenly coffins were definitely related to the Supremes. However, the bronze lamp could suppress the nine-colored heavenly coffin. Wouldn't that be like throwing away a watermelon for a sesame seed? It had to be said that the value of the bronze lamp was beyond Su Yan's understanding. It was a huge shock to him. Unbelievable. What is this lamp? Who was the one who refined it? Su Yan pondered in his heart. Today's experience was too bizarre. It involved one historical mystery after another. For example, one of the mysterious heavenly coffins. Back then, Bury the Heavens had unlocked the mysteries of the nine-colored heavenly coffin and turned it into the 33 Heavens burial cave. It was the strongest place in the human world. He smiled bitterly. He was too anxious just now and did not notice the bronze lamp. Otherwise, he would not have suffered such heavy injuries. Su Yan's injuries were too severe. His origin was damaged. It was more severe than the injuries he suffered in the bloody battle against the three emperors' ancestor. It seemed like it would take a long time for him to recover. Let's heal quickly. Su Yan's primordial spirit flowed towards his broken body. His primordial spirit turned into a stream of light and surged into the bleeding broken body. Gradually, Su Yan's expression became gloomy. In fact, the nine-colored heavenly coffin had completed a part of the fusion with Su Yan. He realized that his body was a little unfamiliar. Even his soul power could not completely control his broken body. This made Su Yan's heart sink to the bottom. This is troublesome, Su Yan muttered. The problem was very troublesome. However, he clearly understood that only by becoming stronger would he be able to resolve the terrible situation before him. Even if the nine-colored heavenly coffin could merge into one in the future, it would completely belong to Su Yan and would not be threatened by it. Even if there was a sudden risk, he would not allow it to happen. Otherwise, it would be a fatal blow in the future. The broken body was stained with blood. The primordial spirit light rain floated out and gathered in the void. The golden primordial spirit looked solemn as it sat cross-legged on the bleeding broken body. He told Mu Xian some things and prepared to go into seclusion for a long time. He would not leave until he became the true lord of the immortal world. Su Yan's primordial spirit was the main body. He channeled the heaven-opening scripture and chanted the great Tao's immortal voice. He entered a different cultivation path. This was also in line with Su Yan's path. Time slowly passed, time was merciless. One genius battle after another ended, and the geniuses of the Golden Era began to fight fiercely. It was a glorious era that belonged to the younger generation. The mortal realm, the immortal realm, and the celestial court, the young geniuses of the three realms would challenge the 9 steps to heaven. It was an era where the saints contended for hegemony. Heroes rose together and wrote their own legends. During that type of intense collision, young immortal kings were born, their auras devouring the world. Batch after batch of young immortal kings walked out one after another. The strength of the celestial court reached an unprecedented peak. The three realms were interconnected, and the various systems were becoming complete. Space-time Emperor has broken through. The celestial realm was in an uproar. 2,000 years later, the space-time Emperor carried the immortal slaying saber on his back and presided over the heavenly palace. On this day, he suddenly tore through the bottleneck of his cultivation level. His figure merged with the environment of heaven and earth. In a short period of time, his strength skyrocketed, and he tore through the bottleneck of the strongest Emperor realm. All these years, the space-time Emperor had been cultivating in the supreme land of fortune in the deepest part of the heavenly palace, growing in the strongest environment. Now, he had become the strongest emperor of the new generation. With the immortal slaying saber on his back, his divine might was even greater, and he ruled the immortal realm. The immortal realm ushered in its best era. Back then, the Spacetime Emperor worked hard and made great contributions to the immortal realm and the immortal cave. All these years, Dali developed the immortal realm and walked towards the prosperous era that he hoped for. Era after era passed, and there were rumors all over the immortal realm. The celestial court has been established for 5,000 years. Immortal Emperor Zhang has disappeared for a long time. Where did he go? I'm not sure. It's been too long since I saw Immortal Emperor Zhang's glory. There's no news from the Supreme Celestial Court either. Don't talk nonsense. The Celestial Court is prosperous, the Celestial Court is strong, and the Dark World is completely silent. There's no war at all in the three realms. Immortal Emperor Zhang must be in seclusion, pursuing a stronger realm. The vast immortal realm lacked wars and bloodshed. Only the younger generation, where the saints contended for hegemony, produced heroes in every generation. Immortal Emperor Zhang became the topic of discussion. Bao Kai and the others were also worried because Su Yan had been in seclusion for too long. He hadn't shown himself for thousands of years and had been entrenched in the innermost part of the celestial court. 10,000 years old? Bamboo Moon murmured. Her body flowed with moonlight and starlight, graceful and noble. She suddenly realized that Su Yan was already 10,000 years old. She was filled with emotions. The long river of time had passed. In the celestial court, the big brother frowned. Su Yan was in a trance. Thousands of years had passed, but he still hadn't woken up. Did he encounter any danger? If that was the case, Su Yan would tell them to go and solve it. The Black King had come out of seclusion long ago. He discussed with the kings of the celestial court that the matter of the Dark World should be solved. Originally, they were prepared to attack the Dark World 500 years ago. All these years, they had been waiting for Immortal Emperor Zhang to come out of seclusion. But he still hadn't come out, and Blackie was a little impatient. Boom! In the meeting hall of the kings of the celestial court, a thunderous sound came from the outside world. Everyone rushed out and looked at the celestial world. The world is changing! Xing Tian shouted. The space-time of the celestial world rippled, as if the ruler who had disappeared for thousands of years had returned. The land of the celestial world started to shake violently. The celestial world's celestial palace was shaking. Su Yan's place of seclusion was too shocking. The sleeping primordial spirit was awakening, and the pressure was suffocating. Boom! The vast pressure that filled the sky seemed to seep down from the top of the endless sky and enveloped the celestial palace. The world was filled with extreme een and darkness. It was as if a sleeping supreme god-fiend was awakening. Su Yan is going to rise. He's going to become the true master of the celestial world, Tai Baokai roared. This was Su Yan's aura. It suppressed the celestial palace and replaced the environment. This unimaginable power was even crossing the space-time of the celestial world. What a terrifying primordial spirit fluctuation! The people of the celestial world were shocked. The legendary figures of the various great sects were trembling in fear. A supreme giant of the celestial palace had awakened and was looking down on the celestial world. The majestic soul chi surged and rushed to one great region after another. This kind of aura covered the 4 great regions. How powerful was this primordial spirit? Did it surpass the strongest monarch? The fluctuation seems to be flowing from the celestial palace. It should be Immortal Emperor Zhang. The world was in a heated discussion. The celestial palace had been established for 5,000 years. Immortal Emperor Zhang ushered in a great explosion at this moment. The vast soul chi surged in the space-time of the celestial world and filled the entire environment. Did Su Yan succeed? The kings of the celestial court walked out and looked at the celestial world. The space-time of the celestial world underwent a major change. The people realized that the sky seemed to have disappeared, as if the heavens were being replaced. The flowing soul chi became more and more majestic. It covered everyone's heart and even suppressed the environment of the celestial world. The aura was unparalleled. In a short period of time, strange phenomena appeared in the celestial world. A true dragon ran through the celestial world, an immortal phoenix spread its wings, immortal Emperor Zhang. The world exclaimed. The great Tao seeds scattered all over the sky and turned into living beings. They were lifelike as if the heavens had appeared. Upon closer inspection, one would realize that the billions of little people were all immortal Emperor Zhang. They were born with the celestial world and operated with the celestial world. They whistled and their primordial spirits emitted the laws of creation and filled the entire celestial world. The great Tao rumbled and gave birth to earth-shattering changes. Changed, the world has really changed. The dragon turtle roared as if he had gone mad. He lost control of his emotions. The trace of dissatisfaction in his heart towards Su Yan dissipated. He thought that at this moment, he was too powerful. He was so powerful that the dragon turtle could only submit to him. The celestial world changed. The environment was changing. Billions of immortal marks affected the celestial world. The environmental order underwent a major change. It was as if the universe had been created and interweaved with the supreme power of the beginning of the world. In fact, in the eyes of the people in the outside world, the changes in the celestial world were extremely shocking. The celestial world flickered and the universe seemed to be broken. In the chaos world, black and white energy rushed into the clouds and protected Su Yan's primordial spirit. Along with the circulation of the mysterious technique, the celestial world walked towards prosperity. This was a change, a deduction of the rise and fall of the great Tao. It was like a reincarnation cycle. The celestial world withered and flourished. It rose and fell one after another. In a short time, billions of changes were completed. During the process, Su Yan's primordial spirit became stronger and stronger. It was like it had dissolved and turned into a vast stream of light. It flowed in the celestial world and turned into the heavens. Deep and majestic scripture sounds rang out. The heaven-opening scripture was being read. It explained the Tao of the origin of all living beings and explained the Tao of the awakening of all living beings. The great Tao seeds scattered down and scattered in the mountains and rivers, scattered in the world. The world was filled with newborns. Their foreheads opened up and gave birth to auspicious signs. Many ignorant living beings who had just entered the cultivation world looked at immortal Emperor Zhang. He turned into the heavens and taught all living beings, guiding them on the path. Immortal Emperor Zhang. In an instant, billions of living beings roared. This was an inconceivable scene. The power of faith of all living beings flowed into the sea and rushed into the celestial world. The great world opened up was at its peak. Along with Su Yan's primordial spirit, it covered the entire celestial world. Repeat, reorganize, restart. I, immortal Emperor Zhang, reopen the great Tao of the celestial world. I protect all living beings and prosper forever. The majestic syllables rang out and swept across the mountains and rivers, echoing in the ears of all living beings in the celestial world. It's done. The Big Brother laughed. The great fortune of the celestial world was formed. The world respected immortal Emperor Zhang. His shadow was extremely majestic. His body was surrounded by the sound of worship. The power of faith seemed to have crossed the long river of history and pressed down from the beginning of the celestial world. Endless majestic pressure surged towards the celestial world. This was a great achievement. The origin of all living beings in the world awakened. The celestial world ushered in an era of great fortune. The great Tao of heaven and earth could be seen clearly. All the children in the world stepped on the path of cultivation. It was an extraordinary change. It was a rewriting of the celestial world's great Tao. Su Yan used his primordial spirit to promote the reform of the celestial world. This was a terrifying historical change. From this moment on, the celestial world was filled with the supreme fluctuations of immortal Emperor Zong. Ha 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 ha. The kings of the celestial court laugh. When the conditions were right, success was achieved. The fruit that was planted back then was now reaping the benefit. When the celestial world was at its weakest, Su Yen, the son of the celestial fate, took out the black and white qi to smelt the celestial world and reopen the great Tao of the celestial world. This was equivalent to the chaos opening the sky and deducing the Tao of the black and white qi in the past to bless all living beings. Su Yen also took the opportunity to blast open the terrifying great Tao and turned into the lord of the celestial world. He was almost supreme and looked down on the past, present, and future. This vast event lasted for a long time before it calmed down. Su Yan's primordial spirit returned. After thousands of years, his physical body had recovered. At this moment, Su Yan was full of unparalleled heavenly power. His deep eyes looked at his physical body. He hadn't returned for thousands of years. At this moment, his primordial spirit returned to his physical body. The dim life origin imprint in the past suddenly surged violently. Open! Su Yan's primordial spirit shouted. His words sounded very dull, and also very frightening. The chanting of sutras erupted like a vast ocean. If the immortal master was shouting or the demon master was roaring, the sound of the sutras filled the sky and the 10-colored precious blood in his body boiled. The 9-colored heavenly coffin creaked. The mysterious 9-colored heavenly coffin opened at this moment. It was completely opened. Chapter 2184. The 9-colored heavenly coffin opened with a creak. This heavenly coffin contained too many secrets and secrets. It was related to the source of the chaos of the three realms, and it existed in legends related to the supreme beings. Back then, when the dark world and the immortal world joined forces to attack the mortal world, they were after the 9-colored heavenly coffin. The dark world had the dark coffin, the human world had the 9-colored heavenly coffin, and the immortal world had the snow mountain dragon coffin. Unfortunately, the immortal world's snowy mountain dragon coffin was taken away by Daotian and heaven suppression along with the black and white qi of the immortal world. 3 realms, 3 great heavenly coffins. It was filled with all kinds of complicated historical background. What kind of secrets were hidden in the 3 great heavenly coffins that they were after? At this moment, Su Yen opened the 9-colored heavenly coffin. As the coffin opened, it transformed into the 33 heavens heaven-burying cave. Resplendent 9-colored immortal splendor surged, creating a divine scene. His flesh and blood surged. In the process of opening the heavenly coffin, Su Yan's flesh and blood merged with it. Just as he had guessed, this heavenly coffin was not that easy to refine. His physical body was on the verge of rotting away once again, but the current Su Yen was no longer the same as the Su Yen of the past. After thousands of years of consolidation, he had become the master of the celestial realm. His primordial spirit was peerlessly powerful, and with the heaven-splitting scriptures order, he majestically reopened the inner verse. His primordial spirit and body fused together. His life imprint soared into the sky, forcefully suppressing the discomfort of his body fusing with the heavenly coffin. The burying heaven grotto of the 33 heavens was opened to the limit, surging with the light of the 33 heavens. It was so grand that it was as if a supreme expert had awakened from a deep slumber, crossed over destruction, walked towards the origin, stepped into the immemorial era, and walked towards the present. Su Yan's expression was cold. He didn't say a word. However, he had thought of many things in a short period of time, and his thoughts were somewhat deep. The origin of this coffin was too ancient. It was very likely that it originated from a historical product from before the era of the 3 realms. It was hard to imagine its origins and origins. Perhaps the 3 realms hadn't even been born in the era of its existence. Along with the destruction of history, the heavenly coffin revealed a supreme profoundness. For a short period of time, it shrouded Su Yan's heart and soul, causing him to feel a little suffocated. Was it a power related to the Supremes? It pressed down on this world, covering Su Yan's heart of the great Tao. It was as if it was telling him to follow his own great Tao and recultivate. Suppress! Su Yan shouted, and the coffin-suppressing lamp suddenly burned, suppressing the ancient energy waves coming from the nine-colored heavenly coffin. He could clearly see the inner world of the nine-colored heavenly coffin, and he found a faint imprint that was about to disappear. Su Yan took a deep breath and closed his eyes. When he opened his heaven's eye again, he sighed. "Bury the heavens," he murmured. It was Bury the Heavens who had taught him how to master the heavenly coffin. Back then, he had left the three-world mountain with the nine-colored heavenly embryo and placed it at the peak of the 33rd heaven to be nurtured. Perhaps from the day it opened, he had hoped that one day, he would be able to integrate the 33 heavens into his body and become an invincible overlord. Su Yan had gone to the secret palace of this elder heaven, whom he had never met before, and obtained the emperor's scripture. He had mixed feelings. Was Bury the Heavens still alive? Did Bury the Heavens also fall when the two great ancient realms attacked the human realm? Perhaps even if Bury the Heavens were still alive, he would never have thought that Su Yan would become the master of the immortal realm, and even use the environment of the immortal realm to walk on an extremely terrifying path. He walked out of the three-world mountain, and the heaven-burying cave was born. On the long road of birth, the Tao Celestial Emperor had protected his true fate. 1,000,000 years ago, he was born. Su Yan met with misfortune and almost died. It was the Celestial Court who dug him out of the heaven-burying cave and carried him in the Snow Mountain Dragon coffin to the Celestial Court branch of the Nine Cauldrons continent. Big Brother also saw Su Yan being born and wanted to nurture Su Yan. Su Yan, who had been plagued with misfortune, was born with too much trouble. Perhaps he was burdened with too strong a destiny. In fact, when Su Yan was born in the heaven-burying cave and carried in the Snow Mountain Dragon coffin to the Celestial Court branch, he had already absorbed the black and white energies and become the child of immortal fate, paving the way for him to become the master of the immortal realm. 10,000 years had passed, and Su Yan was 10,000 years old. Whose supreme treasures are the three heavenly coffins? I can get all the answers outside the three realms. I believe that day won't be too far away. Su Yan shouted coldly. His essence, energy, and spirit were extremely strong. Now, Su Yan was an overlord who could support the heavens and earth. The entire heaven palace rumbled, and one emperor after another trembled. They felt like an unparalleled celestial sovereign who could overturn the heavens and earth was about to charge out. Su Yan has come out of seclusion. The space-time emperor carried the immortal slaying saber on his back. He was once a great immortal of the immortal cave, but he was almost killed by the young emperor. Su Yan carried immortal Emperor Zhang's corpse back to the imperial city and was crowned as an emperor in one battle. In the end, they killed their way back to the immortal realm and seized the throne. The heroes in the celestial palace gathered together, feeling extremely complicated. Because today was different. This day was enough to go down in history. On this day, immortal Emperor Zhang became an invincible giant, the true master of the immortal realm. His thoughts could reach all the major realms in the immortal realm, enough to intimidate all living beings. He relied on his own strength to control the situation in the immortal realm and reopen the great Tao. The immortal realm was no longer the immortal realm of the past. The immortal realm now belonged to Su Yan and immortal Emperor Zhang. The celestial palace was prosperous, and all sects came to worship it. It was a pity that the world did not see immortal Emperor Zhang for an entire month, and it was a pity. 10 years later, a terrifying aura rushed out from the depths of the celestial palace, instantly reaching all the space-time dimensions in the immortal realm. However, this aura was just a flash, and it quickly returned to calmness. Only the experts with powerful means could see how majestic that aura was. A giant who had dominated the past and present had a mighty aura, and the whole world was trembling. People did not know what had happened, but they saw immortal Emperor Zhang coming out of seclusion, and he was unprecedentedly powerful. Where he stood, everything lost its brilliance, as if he was devouring all living beings. At this moment, immortal Emperor Zhang was more like an invincible emperor. He was extremely majestic, and he could not help but emit a heavenly aura, vaguely going to reach the highest level, and intimidate the reincarnation of the universe. Su Yan went to the celestial court. After thousands of years, the celestial court had become extremely prosperous, with 3 of the strongest emperors and dozens of emperors. It would continue to be powerful in the future. Blackie had changed. He had gone through a terrifying path, but he also felt that this path was reaching its end. Maybe the answer lies outside the 3 realms. Black King frowned and said, "Big Brother has merged with the environment of the celestial court, and he can be called a quasi-supreme. Let's not talk about the situation of Tao Saint Immortal and me. The 3 realms have great limitations, and without the help of the environment, we can't cross over." Su Yan looked up at the sky and murmured, "This environment can only allow one to walk out?" Or rather, the 3 realms started to become incomplete after the collapse of the 3 realms mountain. Maybe when the 3 realms become one, the limitations of the environment will not exist. In the world I'm in, if any living being tries to surpass the strongest emperor, they will be suppressed by my laws. Su Yan saw further. In reality, Black King and Tao Saint Immortal were extremely powerful, surpassing the strongest emperor. However, it was extremely difficult for them to cross over. Obviously, they were limited and suppressed by the environment of this world. How could the 3 emperors' ancestor explain it clearly? What about the Earth immortal ancestor and the others? If the 3 emperors' ancestor was the complete ruler of the celestial world, then what about the uncanny craftsmanship sect master? What about the other ancient giants? The answer might be outside the 3 realms. Maybe there was an even more terrifying environment in that world, or maybe it was within the 3 realms. When the 3 realms become one, they would know. If that was the case, Black King guessed that Monkey Bro, Xian Wudi, Primal Chaos Woman, and Tao Saint Immortal were the 4 strongest emperors of the celestial court. Moreover, they rose up in the weak environment of the celestial court. Their talents were shocking and they stood in the strongest emperor's domain like Tao Saint Emperor. With their talents, it was not difficult for them to improve. Tao Saint Immortal had already done it. He believed that Monkey Bro and the others could do it too. Big Brother was silent. They could only think in a positive direction. If they thought in a negative direction, then enemies like the 3 emperors' ancestor might not only have to face them in the future. There might be more terrifying giants. These years, the passage has been very peaceful. No one has attacked. Tao Saint Immortal muttered, "The more it is like this, the more uneasy I feel. How many years has the war at the end of the vile earth lasted? I don't dare to imagine." The unification of the 3 realms. Big Black roared, "This day is coming soon. Dark Emperor has already been seriously injured. Even if we have to destroy Dark World, we must complete this step." The great battle was already approaching. Black King had already deployed the various armies, prepared to sacrifice everything to destroy Dark World and unify the 3 realms. And Su Yan's eyes flashed with a wisp of joy. His figure walked step by step towards the human realm. He could feel that the human realm had changed. It could not be said to be fierce, but it revealed a storm that shocked the past and dazzled the present. The human Emperor Great Tao had already reached the pinnacle. Even the shadow that merged with it was extremely brilliant. Su Siu roared. He fell into the Great Tao mother womb. The quality of his body was terrifying. It was somewhat vigorous, somewhat ancient, somewhat dreamy. At this moment, Su Xiu felt as if he had become a supreme human emperor. Great Tao light poured down from his body. There was also an aura that crossed the long river of history. It suddenly pressed down. From this moment onwards the human realm changed. Immortal heavenly domain's appearance was filled with auspicious multicolored light. The great Tao order walked towards perfection and perfection. Woo-woo! It was like the cry of the heavens, like the manifestation of the great Tao. Sweet dew fell from the heavens, blessing all living things. The human realm was blessed with great fortune. The creatures of the world cried out excitedly, calling out to the heavens. Countless creatures received a baptism. A supreme great Tao extended out. At the end of it was a majestic shadow. It was like the human emperor who had passed away was returning. Father! Su Xiu was somewhat confused. He then looked at Su Yan and realized everything. He was shouting loudly. He did not know how many years had passed. Su Yan raised his hand and moved Bamboo Moon, and Su Bing swung over. Mother Aunt! Su Xiu smiled brilliantly. He recovered from the long time of Tao comprehension and said, Father, Mother, I can't leave now. I feel that it will take a very long time before I can leave this place. Good child, stay here and cultivate in seclusion. Nothing big happened outside, and nothing happened at home. Bamboo Moon was so happy that she cried. Su Xiu's path still needed a long time. He could not be considered the ruler of the human realm, but he had inherited the human emperor's orthodoxy. He could control the human realm. The ancestor of the Earth Immortal's cave was indeed hidden in the human realm. The location was quite hidden. Su Xiu had to search seriously to get a general idea of the location. These years, the Black King and the others had worked together to deduce the immortal and imperishable scripture. Although they had perfected it, there was still a long way to go before it was complete. It was rumored that the Earth Immortal's soil was the most terrifying soil in the three realms. It could accelerate the ripening of emperor medicines. This soil might be able to help them complete the immortal and imperishable scripture in place of the Chaos Giant. I finally found the location. The Black King came to the human realm and was very excited. He looked through this world. This mysterious ancient land was like a chaotic ancient land. He could not find any clues. In the past, the Black King and Su Yan worked together to search the human realm, but they could not find any trace of the ancestor of the Earth Immortal's cave. It should be here. Su Yan saw a space-time node and vaguely felt that something was wrong with this area. However, he could not tell what it was. He could not help but sigh. When the ancestor of the Earth Immortal was at his strongest, he was most likely a supreme expert on par with the human emperor. Su Yan summoned the Mystic Nine escape technique and tried to open it. Unfortunately, there was no reaction. He could only attack. Let me try. The Black King was very serious. He took out the Myriad Worlds cauldron. As it emitted light and heat, billions of laws flowed down and pressed down on this chaotic ancient land. The Myriad Worlds cauldron was a terrifying weapon forged by the Tao Celestial Emperor. However, what surprised Blackie was that the Myriad Worlds cauldron's operation only caused this chaotic ancient land to tremble. It did not collapse. Ancestor of the Earth Immortal. Blackie's expression was serious. He pushed the Myriad Worlds cauldron into a powerful domain. The cauldron spun and spewed out myriad worlds. Its aura also became berserk. For a short period of time, the world rumbled and shook. This was especially true when the power struck the core node. Cracking sounds could be heard from within. Clearly, the passage had been forcefully torn apart by them. However, this chaos rift was instantly dyed dark red. Blood was flowing inside, accompanied by a monstrous, baleful aura. It caused people to tremble in fear. The experts from the Celestial Court were shocked. It was just some blood, but it caused them to panic. Their bodies were about to disintegrate. The blood of a supreme being. The Black King grinned. This blood was quite shocking. If not for the Myriad Worlds cauldron suppressing this place, it would definitely produce a heaven-defying killing intent. The smell of blood was extremely pungent. The aura was also quite strong, burning people until they found it difficult to endure. Every drop of blood could refine all things in the universe and destroy the great environment. It was full of indescribable power. This is the blood of a supreme being. Can we understand it as the blood of a celestial emperor? The kings of the celestial court were shocked. This blood contained a terrifying demonic nature. It was as if it could kill the most powerful emperors and destroy their souls. Naturally, the ancestors of the Earth Immortals have lived for countless years. They are all unimaginable giants. Blackie exposed the truth. After all, this was the blood of a supreme being. It was obviously filled with incomparably tyrannical power. Suddenly, some of the remnant blood splashed out, causing the great universe to tremble. The great stars in the sky were all extinguished. Hong Long. The myriad worlds cauldron shone and interweaved with the celestial emperor's Tao. This cauldron was constantly activated by the Black King. A vague figure appeared within, as if a supreme celestial emperor had awakened from his slumber within the myriad worlds cauldron. It emitted a majestic power, causing the remnant blood to tremble. Don't obliterate it. Subdue it. The Black King's eyes were red. The remnant blood of a supreme being contained enormous value. Obliterating it would be a great loss. Just throwing this blood out could form an extremely powerful killing intent. The myriad worlds cauldron was resplendent and blazing. It rumbled as it rotated. This cauldron was enlarging, and within the cauldron was interweaved an endless sea of stars. It transmitted a supreme celestial emperor's might, suppressing the remnant blood so much that it seemed as if it was about to explode. Su Yen was astonished. Drop after drop of remnant blood actually moved towards revival. It was as if stars were rotating in the void. The aura soon became berserk as it resisted on its own. The experts from the celestial court felt their blood run cold. This remnant blood was truly heaven-defying. The berserk aura destroyed the heavens, and even the great Tao collapsed. Chapter 2185. After all, it was just a little bit of blood, so the myriad worlds cauldron suppressed it. We can conclude that this is the cave of the Earth Immortal Ancestor. The Black King bared his teeth in excitement. Exploring the abode of a mythical being was a great pleasure. The blood was swallowed by the myriad worlds cauldron. This thing could be purified and refined into rare treasured medicine. After wiping away the imprint and evil energy, the Black King took out a stone jar to seal the blood. Boom! They used the myriad worlds cauldron to open a path, creating a huge crack. Su Yen was full of anticipation, hoping to obtain the Earth Immortal soil. The opened cave of the Earth Immortal Ancestor was filled with an ancient and desolate aura. Suddenly, it was as if a long era had passed. Xing Tian and the rest were dizzy, as if they were lost in the sea of time. They were mentally exhausted. However, they weren't mortals in the end. They quickly recovered from their confusion, and cold sweat broke out on their back. Just now, they had been disturbed and affected. If there had been an enemy hiding nearby, they would have been killed in an instant. Was this the cave of a supreme being? Wasn't it too terrifying? How strong was the Earth Immortal Ancestor? Suppress! Su Yen shouted. He had a premonition that something was wrong. The 9 great hidden armors behind him rotated, instantly advancing to the strongest domain. The 9 great hidden armors merged into one, turning into a terrifying silver hidden armor that covered the world in front of him. At the same time, the myriad worlds cauldron opened up the tunnel in front, preventing it from collapsing. What profound cultivation! Blackie exclaimed. If it wasn't for the myriad worlds cauldron, the tunnel might have exploded. Because in a short period of time, millions of runes flashed out, showing the river of time. In an instant it could cross the boundless world. Boom! The 9 great escape armor merged into one, covering the sun, moon, and stars, sealing the sky and the earth. This ancient world shrouded in the rain of time gradually returned to silence. We almost let it fly. The Earth immortal ancestor is known as the founder of the mystical sect. Now that he's not a supreme being, it's quite difficult to dig out his cave. Su Yan's eyes were like lightning. Just now, they almost let the cave of the Earth immortal ancestor fly away. After all, it was related to the legendary Supreme, so they didn't dare to underestimate it. The abode of the earthly immortal ancestor was stabilized, and the passageway gradually stabilized as well. The Black King realized that the 10,000 worlds cauldron could not leave. Otherwise, the tunnel would really explode. They were fully armed and walked towards the inner world of the tunnel. This place was too big, as if mortals were looking up at the abyss of heaven. Heaven and earth were so vast that there was no end to it. It was like the boundless heaven and earth, and it was impossible to find where the end was. Sealed realm break. Su Yan was proficient in the profundities of the mystical arts, and he could see through the clues. He performed a series of supreme mystic arts, and the 9 ultimate arts were unleashed, striking towards the immeasurable world in front of him. That feeling of the abyss was indeterminate. The void was being destroyed, and the 9 escapes tore apart the structure of this universe. Blood, they discovered even more blood. As Su Yan opened the sealed realm, this world was dyed red by blood. It surged like a vast sea, flowing through the ruined rivers and mountains, drifting above the heavens. Woo-woo! A rain of blood fell from the sky, and ghosts wept and gods howled. The scene of this world was terrifying, as if a purgatory lay in front of them, devouring their lives. The sky was filled with visions of blood. Monarchs fell, and the great world withered. The atmosphere was violent, and the pressure was suffocating and trembling. This was a world of death. The blood didn't dry up, and the remnant didn't extinguish. It was as if they were going to transform into thousands of malicious spirits, crossing the river of reincarnation to pounce in front of them. The earthly immortal ancestor is facing the same misfortune as the sect master of the supernatural crafts sect. Sword Ancestor's mood was complicated. He really felt that he was lucky to have survived. Or it could be said that Sword Ancestor wasn't strong enough back then and wasn't valued by the strongest enemy. Therefore, he was lucky enough to escape this calamity. The abode of the earthly immortal ancestor was filled with mountains of corpses and seas of blood. A miserable aura pervaded the air, and even now, there were still shouts of killing that shook the ancients and dazzled the contemporaries. Even existences surpassing the strongest monarch died. Just what level did the calamity back then affect? The hearts of the kings were heavy. It was hard to imagine what kind of terrifying enemies the human world had encountered back then. Was it an extraterrestrial civilization or an internal strife between the 3 realms? In fact, it was very difficult to understand. A long time ago, the 3 realms were in an era of peace. According to historical legends, it was the 3 great heavenly coffins that triggered the source of the calamity. But was the legend really the truth? The earthly immortal ancestor, the sect master of the supernatural crafts sect, bury the heavens, and heaven's suppression. What kind of supreme existences were these? The incomparably heavy and bloody history lay before their eyes. Su Yan sighed. He swung his sleeves, looking dignified. He chanted the mortal emperor's scripture, and it transformed into a vast ocean of scripture that rippled in the rivers and mountains of blood. It reverberated in the long river of time and rumbled, and the atmosphere became more and more divine and dignified. This was like a kind of purification and transcendence. The blood-stained world gradually calmed down. The world of blood was filled with desolation. These abodes of supreme beings in the past were overseen by the earthly immortal ancestor. The group walked on the bloody ground. Su Yan chanted the mortal emperor's scripture and performed the mystic 9 escape art. The dilapidated world that they walked through returned to peace. Along the way, they found many corpses whose blood hadn't dried up yet. One could imagine how powerful they were when they were alive. The great calamity that had happened here made the Black King's expression become more and more solemn. It was obvious that the great battle in the depths of the vile earth had affected the human world. This was because some areas were still emitting an inextinguishable power. This was definitely a supreme battle strength that surpassed the strongest monarch. The game in the depths of the vile earth was related to the unification of the three realms. What is that? They were shocked and raised their heads to look at the sky. They were already close to the deepest part. The deep sky was soaked in blood, and there were broken stars drifting about. The Black King opened his heaven's eye to look. There were hundreds of broken stars, and all of them were emitting terrifying waves. It was like broken worlds were rotating one after another, and the power they emitted was quite shocking. A broken universe! Su Yen was surprised and said, "How prosperous was this place in the past? If the ruler of the human world was the mortal emperor, then the earthly immortal ancestor and the sect master of the supernatural crafts sect each occupied a world. Hundreds of broken universes interweaved with natural laws and order." The Black King's large claw reached out and grabbed a broken star. The moment he pulled fiercely, the broken star rumbled and rushed out with endless natural laws and order. It turned into a sky full of sword embryos to slash apart the powerful enemy. Suppress. The present was different from the past. The Black King was quite powerful now. The sky full of sword embryos were shattered, and this broken star was grabbed by him. Inside the broken star was a universe that was about to be destroyed, but it hadn't completely withered yet. This made the Black King cry out in alarm. He grabbed the hundreds of broken stars one after another. Although these broken stars have been destroyed, they can be refined into a set of extremely shocking supreme treasures to be passed down. Once the 100 broken stars are refined, they can derive a powerful formation layout. This is a set of the most powerful supreme treasures. Big Black bared his teeth in excitement. This was a rather great harvest. He wanted to use the broken universe to refine the supreme treasures. They continued forward in an attempt to find some monarch medicine. The result was very disappointing. The world's spiritual essence was dried up, and even the underground dragon veins had dried up. It was very difficult to find anything of value. However, as they approached the innermost depths, the group's figures seemed somewhat insignificant. This world was very extraordinary. The heaven and earth were grand and filled with incomparable mysterious fluctuations that suppressed all life in the universe. It was as if they had arrived at the palace of a giant god and arrived at the supreme ancient cave abode. The environment of this world was extremely shocking and peerless. It was so big that it seemed boundless. The environment of this universe is very terrifying. This should be the cultivation ground of the Earth immortal ancestor. There exists a terrifying great environmental order. The Black King appeared to be very irritable. He let out low roars because he felt this place could become the foundation of the environment for evolution. However, it was very regrettable. There were cracks in this world. Those were injuries to the great Tao and were extremely difficult to repair unless the Earth immortal ancestor was reborn. The appearance of the boundless great world was full of fragments of the great Tao. It was as if the heavens were broken and incomplete. Standing here, Su Yen could clearly capture the vague supreme fluctuations that shook one's soul. This was definitely the cultivation ground of the Earth immortal ancestor. The youngsters these days are really not kind and honest. They're shouting and shouting randomly. "Spare my cultivation." All of a sudden, thunder rumbled in the world and rumbled in their ears. It resounded in the depths of their souls. Everyone's bodies stiffened and their hair stood on end. Who was speaking? This world was already destroyed. Corpses were everywhere. If there were still living experts from the Earth immortal ancestor's bloodline, how could they not care about the affairs of the world? Su Yan's black hair fluttered in the wind. The qi and blood in his body instantly boiled. His divine eyes were like lightning and emitted an extremely powerful and domineering force. The appearance of this vast great world faintly trembled. Xing Tian and the others were shocked. Su Yan's body was extremely terrifying. It was as if a sleeping azure dragon was awakening. "Who's there?" Immortal Emperor Zhang shouted coldly. He had nothing to be afraid of. As the master of the immortal world, he had the confidence to suppress all rebellions. Su Yan stepped on the desolate land and looked majestic. He looked into the depths of the cave abode and could erupt with his peak combat strength at any time. "Young man, do you want to fight with me?" The voice swept over again. It was still so majestic and deafening. Moreover, the end of the world gradually changed. They saw a huge graveyard appear. It was soaked in bloody light and indescribably terrifying. It was as if a supreme being that had lived for countless eras was entrenched in the graveyard. A graveyard? The Black King's expression was solemn. Was there a living fossil about to crawl out from the graveyard? Rumble! The ancient graveyard shone and surged with life source one after another. It tore apart the heavens and transformed into great Tao true dragons. In a short period of time, billions of great Tao true dragons rushed out from the bleeding graveyard. The aura that filled the air was extremely powerful and domineering. The Ziqilan and the others were shocked. This kind of fluctuation was too intense. Billions of great Tao true dragons spurted out from the bleeding graveyard. They stood at the peak of the universe and looked down on all living things. The majestic degree of energy made even the strongest monarch doubt life. Was this really a boundless foundation that a cultivator could possess? A majestic shadow actually appeared in the bleeding graveyard. Accompanied by the flowing light of time, it was as if a supreme god that had slept for billions of years had awakened from the cycle of reincarnation. It opened its eyes and looked down on the world. A living supreme being? The kings were all shocked. This scene left them with too great of an impact. The creatures that appeared from the graveyard filled the great universe. Billions of great Tao true dragons circled around them. He was so imposing that he could be called the primogenitor of heaven and earth. He overlooked countless eras and revealed the vicissitudes of 10,000 eras. His divine might suppressed everyone's hearts. Chapter 2186. Above the graveyard, the enormous figure filled the space-time. Millions upon millions of true dragons rose and fell along with it, revealing an immeasurable amount of life essence. This scene was unbelievable. How exuberant was this energy? The kings clicked their tongues. It was a great shock to them. Even Blackie felt it was too outrageous. A living supreme? They couldn't see any clues from this figure, nor could they see his specific appearance. Was he the ancestor of the Earth Immortals? Could it be that he didn't fall back then and had been hiding here to recuperate? Regarding the legend of the ancestor of the Earth Immortals, Sword Ancestor had only heard of it and had never seen this person before. His heart was surging with emotions. If it was really a living ancestor of the Earth Immortals, it was a huge matter to the human world. Perhaps he would be a powerful ally. "Who are you?" Su Yan's pupils shot out divine light in all directions. His entire body's vital energy and blood boiled, filled with the might to split heaven and earth apart. He walked forward step by step. "My name is the ancestor of the Earth Immortals." He spoke with a cold tone. "You're not the ancestor of the Earth Immortals." Su Yan was shocked and furious. Could it be an enemy? Why did he disguise himself as the ancestor of the Earth Immortals? To gain their trust? Goldie was about to go crazy. Who was this? After all, cultivation was too powerful. If he wasn't an ally, then he was an enemy. This was the human world, the era of the Celestial Court's great unification. No evil or turbulence was allowed to appear. Blackie's expression was solemn as he secretly took out a great killing weapon. Su Yan had obtained the ancestor of the Earth Immortals' inheritance. He could naturally distinguish whether this was a human or a ghost. If it was really an enemy, then it was really too outrageous. In an instant, Blackie roared wildly. His figure instantly became boundlessly terrifying. An incomparably huge black beast figure spewed out the light of reincarnation and purgatory, wanting to charge into the tall path. Black King and Su Yen teamed up. This was an extremely powerful combination. Clang! The immortal slaying sword on Su Yan's back shone, sprinkling down rolling sword rays that split apart the majestic life essence in front of him. Su Yan's deep eyes stared at the graveyard. He was proficient in the 9 escape techniques and could faintly discern some clues. He saw that there was a peerless true dragon sleeping in the graveyard. His expression was somewhat strange. In the process, the fluctuations emitted by Su Yan's figure became more and more intense. His chi and blood were exuberant and domineering. This made Blackie feel strange. How could Su Yan's physical body become so outrageous? What did this brat eat? Right now, Big Black wasn't in the mood to think about these things. With the two great experts working together, their battle prowess reached the heavens and shook the earth. Even this great world was shaking. Having cultivated to such a level, they would not fear any enemy. Even if a utmost being were to appear here, they would pay any price to kill him. Junior, you dare to be impudent in front of my abode? Be careful or I'll send you to reincarnation. The enormous creature angrily roared. This ancient and mysterious world began to rumble on its own. The bleeding graveyard released an even more berserk life energy, all of them displaying an unmatched order. Let me see if you're a human or a ghost, Su Yen shouted. He unsheathed the immortal slaying sword and attacked forward. At the same time, he waved his fist and displayed the heaven-opening fist. There was nothing to say. The other party didn't reveal his identity and wasn't an Earth immortal ancestor. They wouldn't sit and wait. Boom! Su Yan's fist revealed a mighty force that could obliterate the laws of heaven and earth. The momentum of heaven and earth changed, and the universe's environment seemed to be changing again. This fist was extremely powerful because Su Yen had erupted with his strongest battle prowess. The life essence that filled the sky burst open, and the fist rushed straight to the graveyard. In the process, the immortal slaying sword slashed forward, tearing apart the long river of epics. In an instant, it slashed towards the enormous creature above the graveyard. Roar! At the same time, Big Black extended his hand. He tore the sky apart and descended from the sky, starting to suppress the graveyard heavily. The kings of the celestial court rushed forward and took out all kinds of killing weapons to cooperate with them to suppress the majestic creature. Because things had reached this stage, this creature was most likely not a supreme and did not have the battle prowess of the Dark Emperor. However, in the next moment, what made them dumbfounded was that the enormous creature, which was originally quite majestic, ran away in the next moment. He rushed into the graveyard and scolded, "Young people these days don't respect the old and love the young. They're too barbaric and rude." Su Yan's face trembled slightly, and he calmed his mind. The immortal slaying sword didn't slash, and Blackie's claws also stopped. The Black King said angrily, "Come out, or I have 9 ways to flip over your grave and let you taste the 10 great tortures of the Celestial Court." "What Celestial Court?" "Black boy, don't scare me. I'm not scared." "And the young man with the sword, aren't you the successor of the human emperor? You're practicing the human emperor's scripture." "No, it's not the human emperor's scripture." "Who are you?" A puzzled voice came from the blood-stained graveyard, which made the sword master's eyes flash with a strange light. This person was a powerhouse from the human realm. What was his relationship with the ancestor of Earth immortals? "Come out quickly, don't hide in there and play tricks." The words "black boy" made Blackie anxious. Its nostrils spurted out the light of purgatory, and a vertical eye opened between its eyebrows to look at the blood-stained grave. The mountain suddenly changed, and it seemed to be supreme, as if it was swallowing the universe's power. The aura of the accumulation of time was quite dense. It tried to penetrate the inside, and it seemed to see one after another small universe. It was very shocking. What kind of treasure was this? It didn't look like a graveyard, but a rare treasure. I'm warning you, don't mess around. This is the place where the ancestor of Earth immortals is in seclusion. A warning voice came from the graveyard. You juniors have to pay your respects. If you accidentally anger the ancestor of Earth immortals, do you know what will happen next? Su Yen was very rough as he swung his fist and smashed it directly at the graveyard. Because he noticed that the graveyard was escaping, but the speed of its escape was too brilliant, and he couldn't see its trajectory at all. Su Yen understood the profundities of the occult arts, and he was very clear that this graveyard was jumping through space-time nodes. Bang! This punch was rather sudden, and it revealed boundless domineering aura. It erupted in an instant and blasted open a large space-time rift. Open! Su Yen roared loudly, and his black hair fluttered in the wind. His fist shook the heavens and the earth, and it smashed open the space-time rift. This punch penetrated the long river of space-time, and it was so powerful that it wanted to blast to the end of the universe. Old Rabbit, you still want to escape? The Black King was furious. In the short period of time just now, the graveyard had silently shifted a long path of space-time. All these phenomena were blasted away by Su Yan's fist, and the world-shocking punch smashed onto the graveyard. The entire graveyard rumbled, and it shook out a surging force that swept out in all directions. This graveyard is so astonishing. The kings were dazed. The graveyard came back to life in an instant and resisted Su Yan's power. It was as if he had nurtured a supreme life form and was whistling, scattering down immortal splendor that filled the sky. It was as if a slumbering giant universe god had awakened, and its might shook the great universe. Bang! Big Black's claws also smashed over like lightning, but the graveyard was ridiculously hard and could be called a supreme treasure. It blocked Big Black's power and transmitted a majestic rebound force, as if millions of universes were burning and resonating. The Black King clicked his tongue. What the hell was this thing? Su Yen and the Black King kept attacking the graveyard, and the more they fought, the more shocked they became. The graveyard was indestructible, but their power also left fist and claw marks on the grave mound. Slash! All of a sudden, Su Yen brought out the immortal slaying sword. The snow-white sword embryo shone, and millions of sword rays gushed out, wanting to tear apart the eternal heavens. A terrifying sword slashed down and directly pierced through the center of the grave mound. Stop! Stop! Quickly stop! The graveyard was anxious and couldn't help but cry out. This sword embryo was quite sharp and had refined an extraordinary material. Moreover, it released the order of the heaven-opening scripture, forming boundless sword rays and immortal marks that were enough to cut open the grave mound. Come out! Su Yen stepped on the graveyard with one foot and waved the immortal slaying sword with the other. If you don't come out, I'll cut open your body. What? You? The graveyard creature was somewhat alarmed. He didn't expect Su Yen to see through his origins. Mystic Nine Escape, who are you? The graveyard creature cried out in alarm. He noticed the 9 escapes spiraling around Su Yen, granting him supreme insight. So much so that Su Yen discovered that the Mystic 9 escape and the graveyard soil were made of the same material. It was obvious that the 9 escape was refined from graveyard soil because Su Yen had seen through his origins. Buzz. The shadow that had just disappeared reappeared. It was a withered old man. The contrast from his dignified appearance was too great. He stared at the 9 escape and lost control. Master's supreme treasure is in your hands. Who are you? The kings of the celestial court cried out in an uproar. Then, their eyes widened. Big Black's saliva flowed madly. In the instant that the graveyard creature was absent-minded, the full appearance of the graveyard was revealed. How was this a graveyard? It was clearly a precious land that was hard to find in the world. Vast immortal radiance rose from the sparkling and resplendent soil. Rare ancient medicines that were hard to find even in the three realms grew on it. A true dragon medicine that has produced a dragon pearl. Long Daesung's beast eyes widened. He saw a true dragon medicine spewing out auspicious multicolored light that condensed into a supreme dragon pearl that was faintly surrounded by Emperor's might. Daesung was excited and wanted to swallow this dragon pearl. He felt that he could directly become the strongest emperor. 9 Heavens Soul Medicine. This is a supreme soul medicine that requires the gathering of immeasurable heavenly essence to produce. However, this 9 Heavens Soul Medicine's essence seems to be somewhat withered. This is the legendary Heaven and Earth Medicine. Legend has it that once this medicine is fully developed, it can become the Heaven and Earth Sacred Land and produce a complete universe. Black King went berserk. This was a super great treasure. He even saw the yang returning grass that was hard to find in the world. It was surging with blazing yang energy. Even if this thing's corporeal life was extinguished, it could still be used to revive the flourishing yang energy. At the same time, this was one of the ingredients for refining the 9 Revolutions creation pill. It was of the utmost importance. The celestial court searched the 3 realms but couldn't find a single one. Rich, this king is destined to be rich. Black King's eyes widened. The graveyard was covered with rare ancient medicines. This wealth was enough to make a monarch go crazy. Their eyes were wide open and they found it hard to believe. However, the strange thing was that among these world-shaking supreme ancient medicines, there wasn't a single true emperor medicine? Su Yan's heart was pounding wildly. The graveyard creature's background was directly exposed. Then this graveyard must be the legendary Earth, Immortal Earth. The Earth, Immortal Earth was terrified. The withered old man lost his head out of fear. He was like an old rabbit and wanted to run away. I didn't expect you to produce a true spirit. Su Yan shouted, it's fate that we met. I'll give you a great fortune. What are you guys doing? My master is the Lord of the Earth Immortal. These are all his sacred objects. I advise you guys not to have any devious ideas. The Earth Immortal Earth was terrified. He was flustered and wanted nothing more than for them to disappear immediately. He also didn't expect to be so flustered after seeing the 9 mystical escape technique. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to see the true appearance of the graveyard. FPZW. Chapter 2187. The earthly immortal land was on the verge of tears. You gave me a great fortune, but I should be the one giving you a great fortune, right? He couldn't escape at all now. It was like catching a turtle in a jar. Blackie summoned the myriad worlds cauldron and sealed this world. No matter how powerful the earthly immortal land was and how unparalleled his escape technique was, he couldn't leave this world that was forcefully sealed. Talk honestly and we can still spare your life. Blackie threatened. His eyes couldn't leave the sacred treasures on the ground as he bared his teeth. Black King, I think it wasn't easy for him to cultivate. Who knows how many years it took for him to complete his transformation. Killing him is too cruel. Su Yan sighed. I obtained the inheritance of the earthly immortal ancestor. I can't bear to watch him die. This old guy isn't honest. He was trying to scare us just now. We were almost scared by him. Black King glared. Leaving him alive is also a big disaster. I think we should kill him and send him to reincarnation. He's the original spirit condensed by the earthly immortal Lord after all. If we kill him, it might damage the value of the earthly immortal land. After all, the earthly immortal land has greater value to us. Su Yan and Dahe echoed each other, scaring the earthly immortal Earth immortal out of his wits. His life was in danger at any time. He surrendered and said, yes, this young man is right. We are all cultivators. We shouldn't fight and kill each other. Boss, we can talk things over. The shriveled old man squatted on the earthly immortal land. His appearance was somewhat miserable and wretched. All his secrets were exposed. He had no way out and could only choose to surrender. Blackie laughed sinisterly in his heart. Who would be willing to kill such a heaven-defying being? Moreover, no matter what, the earthly immortal ancestor was still their ally. The mortal world had already perished, and the number of surviving experts could be counted on one hand. What happened here? Su Yen asked. The earthly immortal lord hesitated for a moment. He didn't dare to play any tricks. He sighed and his expression became very sad and sad. He was a pile of soil that had lived for countless years, and it was extremely difficult for him to give birth to a true spirit. All those years ago, the mortal dimension had suffered a great calamity that caused blood to flow through the ages, causing the entire world to be in ruins, and the abode of the earthly immortal ancestor had almost been destroyed. This cavern world was isolated from the rest of the world. After a long period of time, the rare ancient herbs planted in the earth immortal soil had all turned into emperor herbs. For hundreds of millions of years, the emperor herbs bloomed. The earth immortal soil also took advantage of this opportunity to gradually give birth to a true spirit, and it even had a soul body. This was the reason why all of the emperor herbs in the sky had withered. Their essences were all absorbed by the earth immortal soil. In fact, the earth immortal soil had always wanted to fuse its true spirit with the soil, but unfortunately, it had failed countless times. If he could succeed, then he wouldn't have been suppressed by the joint forces of Blackie and Su Yen. After all, the earthly immortal land was too terrifying, and it was known as the number one land in the 3 dimensions. The hardness of its soil was unimaginable. It was a fact that it could nurture emperor medicines. Legend had it that there were no treasures in the world that could not be nurtured by earth immortal soil. Blackie King felt that it was a pity. He originally wanted to get some concrete answers from the earth immortal soil, but who knew that billions of years ago, the earth immortal soil was still muddle-headed and had yet to condense a complete origin spirit. Are you suppressing the ancestral dragon veins of the human world below you? Su Yan's words made the earth immortal soil smile bitterly. Who asked Su Yan to master the mystical 9 escape techniques, and he was also proficient in the inheritance that the earth immortal ancestor was proud of. The moment the soil left the ground, it flew into the sky. Indeed, there was a complete dragon's head below, and it was overflowing with life essence. This was one of the ancestral dragon veins of the human world. Good, 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 this way it will be easier for the human world to recover. With the help of the ancestral dragon veins, the immortal heavenly domain will be able to recover in a short period of time. Su Yen laughed heartily. This caused the earth immortal soil's heart to be in a perilous situation, as if it was struck by lightning. Had the disaster disappeared? Had the 3 realms returned to peace? Had the enmity of the human world been avenged? In a short period of time, the earth immortal soil's heart was filled with shock. It was so shocking that it wanted to roar out loud. As a living being that had survived the destruction of the universe, the bloody and cruel events of billions of years ago were still vivid in its mind. Earth immortal soil, this king wants to make a deal with you, Black King said solemnly. A deal? The earth immortal soil was confused. It was now a lamb waiting to be slaughtered, and it could not cause any trouble. The other party could completely rob it of all its wealth, and even take away the origin of the supreme treasure. I'll give you a fortune, but there are some conditions. Black King said in a deep voice. You need to recover all the emperor herbs above. The earth immortal soil trembled. This was a vast undertaking, and as someone who viewed the soil as its own body, the earth immortal soil naturally knew that such an undertaking would cause it great losses. However, it had no other choice but to agree. The earth immortal soil was still waiting for Black King to state the conditions, but who knew that it would not speak anymore? Just this. The earth immortal soil was stunned. It wanted to ask, do you know what the earth immortal soil is? How could it be measured by wealth? It was an inexhaustible mountain of gold and silver. Just this. It's very easy. As a reward, I'll help you reconstruct your true body. Black King, can you not trick me? The earth immortal soil did not believe it. Help me reconstruct my true body? This old black thing was obviously not a good thing. This black brat was too treacherous. He was a bit flustered and said, "Just state the conditions. If you have any requests, feel free to state them." "Don't pretend," Black King said righteously. "The three realms are about to be unified. We still have to rush to the depths of the vile earth and wrestle with the mastermind behind the destruction of the human realm. Where would we have the time to scheme against you?" The earth immortal soil trembled all over. The shriveled old man's eyes reddened. After all, he had followed his master for countless years, and their relationship was extremely deep. He would never forget the earth immortal ancestor. "If you can really find the mastermind behind the destruction of the human realm, I'm willing to do my best to help." The earth immortal soil was furious. Blackie took out the immortal and indestructible scripture and gave it to the earth immortal soil to study. He said that this was a great fortune. About half a day later, the earth immortal soil finished reading the immortal and indestructible scripture. He reacted and roared, "You guys are too crazy. This scripture is quite terrifying. It goes against the order of the universe's origin laws. Although I'm an earth immortal soil, if I nurture this heaven-defying scripture, I'll be punished by the heavens." "Don't you want to reconstruct your true body?" Blackie said strangely. "If you can nurture this scripture, you should know that this immortal and indestructible scripture is enough for you to forge a complete physical body. At that time, you'll be the next earth immortal ancestor. Only then will you have the hope of avenging your master. After saying so much, in the end, my reward is also my effort." The earth immortal soil was indignant. This scoundrel made him happy for nothing. "Cut the crap. Give me a straightforward answer," Su Yen shouted. "We're all allies. I don't want to be too embarrassed. In the future, if you're lucky enough to condense your true body, you can come and go as you please. Let me think about it." The earth immortal soil was hesitant. This scripture was heaven-defying. Once it was nurtured with him as a carrier, it might meet with a calamity. The earth immortal soil might also be reduced to nothing. It had once urged the ripening of emperor medicine. This was also heaven-defying. It had encountered many great tribulations. There were gains and losses. It also had to pay a certain price. This guy is greedy for life and afraid of trouble. Just now, he said he wanted to avenge the earth immortal ancestor. Blackie was furious. He shouted, "Get up and go cultivate." "Fine, I'll go. Why are you so fierce?" The shriveled old man mumbled with a face full of grievance. His body was short and somewhat illusory. He winked at Su Yen again and immediately rushed into the earth immortal soil. Su Yen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This was an old urchin. In fact, Big Goldie could understand the earth immortal soil's complicated feelings at this moment. When he was brought out from the heaven burial ocean by Su Yen and found out about the destruction of the mortal world, a very long time had passed. The grief and indignation in his body couldn't be calmed down and was difficult to let go. The earth immortal soil hid here for a very long time. How desperate and helpless was he in his heart. Otherwise, the earth immortal soil would have left long ago. There was fear and hatred in his heart. Ever since Big Goldie saw the celestial court become powerful, the immortal world changed masters, and the mortal world welcomed a new master. Everything was too beautiful. The trace of fear that was hidden very deeply in Big Goldie's heart vanished along with it. It was replaced by the motivation for revenge. Roar. 3 days later, a majestic ancestral dragon soared out from the earth immortal ancestor's cave. It traversed the universe and gushed out boundless essence that radiated one majestic continent after another. Immortal Zhang. The experts all over the world cried out in shock. They noticed that Su Yen had stepped on the river of time and possessed remarkable abilities. He could pluck the stars and capture the moon. With every step he took, the momentum of the mortal world condensed by a bit. Step after step, the heavens and earth were vast, and the sun and moon were dim. Su Yan's sleeves fluttered, and the continents in the immortal celestial domain rumbled. Countless orthodoxies and races shifted the earth's crust, and dragon veins filled the sky. The whole world cried out in shock. What was Su Yan doing? The immortal celestial domain welcomed a great change. Billions of dragons danced in the sky. Su Yan used his physical strength, great abilities, and the mystic 9 escape techniques to tidy up the mountains and rivers and the dragon veins. This was an extremely majestic project. Naturally, Su Yan couldn't do it in a short time. Day after day, the storm continued for 3 years, and it still didn't end. In the process, Su Yan and the Earth Immortal Soil worked together to excavate a large number of prehistoric ruins. The Celestial Court sent a large number of experts to build these ruins, turning them into places of fortune that were passed down one after another. Similarly, a large number of prehistoric inheritances and abilities were also included in the Celestial Court's scripture library. The last book of the Heaven Punishing series. Big Goldie roared in excitement. The 10 great Heaven Punishing series books were all excavated. Su Yan was also happy. The 10 great Heaven Punishing series books were the strongest in the mortal world, and now, they were all gathered in one body. On this day, billions of dragon veins merged together as if broken dragons were reunited as one. Reunite. Many years later, Su Yan's roar was like thunder. The ancestral dragon returned to its position, and the broken structure of the immortal celestial domain was reconstructed by Su Yan. The majestic world was filled with vitality, and it was like a peerless true dragon that filled the universe. Even the sky was filled with dew. A dragon coiled under the ground, seizing the fortune of the heavens and earth. It gathered the momentum of the heavens and earth and formed a huge structure. It rushed towards the cave of the Earth Immortal Ancestor, hoping that one day, this place would be restored to its original state. At the same time, this place became the strongest sacred place of fortune in the mortal world. The Celestial Court had a group of emperors overseeing it, and the construction of a branch was completed. What a powerful divine ability! The Earth Immortal Land also cooperated with Su Yan to complete this series of magnificent feats. After 10 years of fixing the dragon veins and sealing the heavens and earth, the ecological environment of the immortal celestial domain flourished by a large margin. Billions of living beings cheered and shouted for immortal Emperor Zhang. After doing all this, Su Yan went to the space-time where the sect master of the Unholy Crafts sect was at. He observed for a while before leaving the mortal world. Immortal Emperor Zhang, if you have time, come to the immortal celestial domain for a gathering. Immortal Emperor Zhang, when will your son have a descendant? My granddaughter has been waiting for many years. The thousands of sects were in an uproar, and the old experts were shouting excitedly. Some of the old experts who knew Su Yan joked with him, causing the crowd to become rowdy. Ah! Su Yan laughed and left. His back view was extremely majestic. The Grand Saintess looked at Su Yan with complicated emotions. She sighed in the end. She missed it, but she missed it. The current Su Yan was already a giant that could command the world, and his might was awe-inspiring. At the same time, the immortal celestial domain had undergone a great change. This was a supreme method of blessing all living beings, benefiting the immortal celestial domain. Of course, without the help of the Earth Immortal Land, Su Yan would have spent more than 10 years. It would be extremely difficult for him to complete it alone. The era of great unification is coming. The Black King was eager to take action. He ordered the 3 realms to prepare for the strongest battle. As long as they could conquer the Dark World, the 3 realms would form a new environment. This was the true unification. FBZW